I see her call.
Well, you're out on the boat, and then there's another way to do it.
It's only the weekend.
I saw the photo shoot.
I mean, it might be.
Rolling around on the boat.
Don't hate. Don't hate.
Definitely worth it.
Yeah.
And it records everything, so you can show it again. How much time?
Yeah, next stick.
Got 5 more minutes.
Because you were here the day that you came in.
No, I was not there. I was I made it in on Wednesday. Still
One more time. So, were you really talking about the
USG, portal party.
program that y'all have on the
He will get it. I know.
we would all
Partner portal.
get when someone just starting out involved in something like that?
No, it's a Facebook page.
Oh, yeah, I'm on that.
Or no.
It's not a Facebook page?
No, it's where you put in all your contracts. Yeah,
There's so much.
So what I have to do is like.
Is that what your trainers are? Okay,
Fiona said I would get me into a binder with all the contracts. That's after John.
Yeah, so every Tuesday. I'll send you a list.
We all do.
It's gotta be great. I've got a listing presentation tomorrow night.
You don't want the pen?
Yeah, we're not doing these like earlier. Really, what about getting something like a
Still signed up at a lot of websites that say, well, when
But
you
so like, that's how it was. And so there's 3 times to actually be able to take advantage of the 9. You're talking about
It's our main phone number.
lifetime here. You only have a chance. And so what one was 5-1 that you were out of it.
what the secret? Yeah. I honestly rather just print it and I should just go out and
Right.
It's good practice.
Same thing as a business.
Yeah, but it's, you know, like we mess up,
Are you allowed to change your mind as far as living in
if I don't
here? Do you have to live in
oh, I'm not just saying well, I said that yes, I'm a very equal person. I have to go forward over I send it to them once a week. So they would have They don't even have to go that basically, so you make your phone call.
Right now, I'm at different doctors.
Personally, like I said, I do the Aries course. That's just a video online. Aries cover in the shoebox. And that's how you do it. And I like that idea because it's in my hand. It's like a phone call. You move on to the next one. But yeah, it's just great. What's the other one? Tax reasons. But he has a so I'll say
All right, let's begin. Are you ready? Okay, it's 12:30. Let's get started. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Very good. All right, someone tell me one thing you've heard so far today that you were like, yes, that was worth being here. Okay, say everything. That's cheap answer.
Not take myself so seriously.
Okay, yeah, have fun with this thing. And have fun with it. I like that. Yes, sir.
You can't take 10 bad ones, you can't take 10 good ones.
I like that. You can't take 10. If you won't take 10 bad ones, you'll never take 10 good ones. That's a good.
Practicing when there is no money. The pay time, the practice time and the pay time,
Yeah.
practicing when there is no money.
Back in those days, I used to give my listing presentation to the toaster. Over and over and over and over and over again. Over and over again. What else have you heard so far today? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
The listing expiration dates per year.
Oh, that's a game changer. June 30, December 31. I learned that originally from Bruce Hardy in the Northwest, maybe 10 years ago. Just a game changer. And that's one of those 90% things. Like it works 90% of the time. It usually works. Yep. What else have you heard? No is not rejection. I like that. Yeah. Long story with my sob story, woven into the fabrics of it, and it's still the truth. Good. What else?
Willpower is not on willpower.
Yeah. If you've ever taken one thing with Chad, like willpower is not on willpower. It's just not. You can't just have it when you want it. Yeah. You have to bake in a business plan. So that's why I like the triggers so much. Like the triggers that make me go do what I said I was going to do. What else? Yes, ma'am.
Price correction, not price reduction.
Just another tiny little thing, though, over the course of a career, not a tiny little thing. And I really like teeing it up. I think we're a couple of weeks from needing to discuss a price correction. Let's watch the market tight together for the next 2 weeks and we'll discuss it again. And you allow that seller, what you'll find is many of them come back to you and say, how much should it be or how much should we come down? All of a sudden they start to drive it. When you get them to drive that conversation, everything changes.
I think saying earn instead of get or got.
Sure. Yeah, so I earn X number of listings or X number of appointments. So important, so important. What else? Terrence?
Along the way of progress, perfection is found.
On the way of progress, or along the way of progress, perfection is found. Yeah, you almost stumble over perfection. And I know that sounds silly, though you do. You just kind of say like, oh, wow, I got great at this. And I struggle with the word perfection, so greatness would maybe even be like, who's ever perfect, when do you reach mastery level of being a great dad? There's always something you'd want to go accomplish with that. When are you, mastery level of a spouse? Like never. Like it's always a journey. It's a lifetime journey. Yes, sir.
You can ask my wife.
Yeah, very good. Very good. What else?
I like let me list it over the weekend, because I'm sure I can keep that client.
Sure. Yep. Well, the thing is, that was never. Let me be really clear on that. None of those FSBO deals were ever my conversation openers. That was contact number 9. We talked 7 times. They knew I was the right person. They've been telling me for a month. Well, Cody, when we list, we'll list with you. We're just not ready yet. That was a closer. It wasn't an opener. I don't believe in deals as openers. I think that's chintzy and cheap. And it was about, listen, I talked to this person 8 times or 9 times. I'll use this just to close it up. So that was easy. What else have you heard?
You can only prepare for the market that's coming or the market you're in.
Sure. Prepare for the market that you're going into. I think that's a big deal. And it's something that Gary's pushed our group on so much the last year or 18 months, so much. Anything else?
Price correction.
Habit stacking, I like that. Habit stacking, price corrections, we've heard that one already. Anything else?
Commitment.
Commitment, I like that. Yep, Kelly, I like that. Anything else?
You won't be productive with a fear of chaos.
You won't be productive if you have the fear of chaos. Now, I'm almost okay with the fear of chaos. I'm not okay with letting it stop you. So it's kind of like the book Susan Jeffers wrote, which was Feel the Fear and Do It. It's such a great book, you know, and what Susan wrote in that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, was she talked about how wealthy people felt fear. They felt it just like poor people did. The difference was wealthy people felt fear and moved forward anyway. They didn't feel fear and allow it to hold them back. And so I made peace with the fact that I was probably going to feel some fear. I was probably going to feel some challenges. Now that's rain. So when people, I told you squirrel. So when people find out that it rains 200 days a year in Portland or 210 days a year, that's what they think Portland looks like 200 days a year. It is not. It's almost like just misting from the ground up. Like we wouldn't get that much rain. I mean, I don't even know the last time it's rained that hard, except for Birmingham yesterday. Or Saturday, it rained like that Saturday. That's just dumping. All right, so let's dive into how to double your business in 1 year. There'll be a few ideas that I've kind of already brought up that I'll kind of dig a little bit deeper on. Now, this is the idea behind this is, you know, look, Cody, if you were going to double your business in a 1 year time frame, not 5 years, not 10 years, in a 1 year time frame, what would it need to look like? Now, John, if you're recording this one, do you want this mic back on for that?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
Pick you up either way.
Okay, I was getting some feedback, so I just shut it off.
Shut it off.
Totally good? Okay. That's real clear. So the first challenge with it is you have to know there's a lot of noise. Everybody has an opinion of how to do more business in less time. And what we're after is we're after some level of efficiency if we're going to double in 1 year. Now, if you're going to double in 10 years, then some of this may not even be applicable to you. You don't care. Just do what you're doing now and give it a whole lot more time. Just do what you're doing now and wait a whole long time. So if you want to do it shorter time, you have to do more in less. So the first thing is you have to understand you're going to have a lot of noise. People will have opinions and ideas. And I want you to be careful who you listen to. I want you to be careful who you take advice from. You know, some people, their favorite thing to say is, here, take my advice, I'm not using it anyway. So be cautious who you're listening to. Be cautious also how long they've been doing it. And I don't mean the real estate business. Some of the greatest ideas come out of somebody in their first 6 months in this business because they don't know what they can't do yet. I love those people. What I mean is, how long have you been doing this? They go, oh man, I got 2 listings from XYZ, and you go, awesome. How long have you been doing XYZ? 8 days. I'll talk to you in a year or 2. Like, give it time. Let it germinate a little bit. I remember my first ever geographic farm. I sent out a mailer to this condo development, a few hundred homes, not even a very big farm. And I had 2 listings immediately, and I'm like, yeah, why didn't I do this sooner? Like, I'm a genius. And it took me 16 months for the next sale out of that farm. So if you would have talked to me in the beginning, I would have told you it was awesome, do more of it. So once you get clear about what you're going to do, just know you'll get pulled in multiple directions. You're going to be pulled at multiple times or at the same time in multiple ways. And it's going to feel kind of like, who was it in The Wizard of Oz? It's like, it's that way. Yeah, that's how it's going. Yeah, Scarecrow. That's how it's going to feel sometimes. And when you feel that, I want you to take a little piece and know that means you're on the right track. And I'd surmise it to say this. And if you're taking notes, I'd write it like this. There's more than one way. You can do this and double the business in a year. There's more than one way. And so I'm not worried about will it work or will it not work. I made peace a long time ago with the fact that basically everything works. Like most things work. In fact, 80% of plans usually work, and the 20% that don't, we turn failure into skill anyway. So even that works in a long roundabout way. Now, if you're going to double your business in 1 year, so I already interviewed Terrence for a few minutes, so I'm going to pick on Terrence for a minute. What he has to do first is protect what he already has. So if he's used to selling 25 or 30 homes a year, if you're going to double in a year, the first thing you have to do is like put armor on the 25 or 30 that you got. So think about where you're at. If you're doing 10 deals a year and you want to go to 20, or you're doing 50 a year and you want to go to 100, or like when I think about, I use the term my business very loose because it's not my business. I mean, Terrence is a part of that. So I'm just going to use my business as an easy way to say it. We ended last year at 486. We wanted to double this year and go to 1,000. So the very first thing we had to do on January 1 is go to what? 486. And if we took the same 11 months and 28 days to get there as we did last year, it wasn't going to happen. So we had to get to 486 by when? Yeah, at least by the end of the first half of the year. Now, right now we're tracking to be over that by the end of the first half of the year, or be like right there or a little bit over. And I have some peace with that because I know what the second half of the year typically looks like compared to the first half of the year. Plus you add in growth and all of a sudden, you can be 1,500 units. Though, think about, think about like back in medieval days. So there'd be like a castle, right? And what would they put around that castle? A moat. And that moat serves two purposes. The first purpose was to keep bad guys out. What was the second purpose? Yeah, keep all the peasants or keep all the people or whatever you want to call it. Keep all the taxpayers. I mean, depending on who was king or queen, right, or who was head of that castle, it was to keep those in. What I want you to do is I want you to think about your moat, keeping other agents out of your business, and the moat, keeping your current database in your business. So it serves two purposes. Your database can't escape and other agents can't get in. If you think that other agents aren't talking to your database, you're nuts. If you think your database is not registering on my business site or my website or somebody else's, you're nuts. If they register on one, they register on four. Like I used to get this phone call back when I sold directly, like, well, you talked to my client. Well, maybe. Or you took my client. I don't know about that. Maybe. You mean you knew them from church and they bought a home from me? Oh, you mean that person? These aren't cattle. They're not sheep.
They don't have tags.
They don't have tags. Yeah, whoever said that, they get 10 extra points. So protect what you have. So you got to build a moat around that. Now the other thing too is you got to do it faster. So for T Mayo, he's got to go out and sell 25 or 30 homes in half the time that he did it last year in. Which means it's going to feel a little uncomfortable. It's going to feel a little bit chaotic. Now the next piece is to have a narrow focus on that. You can't double until you get to half. And I think we overlook that. We get so hung up on how do I get this bigger number, when hang on a second, Holmes, you got to get the original number first. I mean, we ended, if you're used to doing 10 units a month, every month you start in January going, I'm only 10 units behind. Like that's a lot. Like we're gonna end this year. I think we'll be about 1,000. We could be 1,400. We'll call it 1,000. We're gonna end this year at 1,000 units. Well, guess what happens January 1 of next year? We are 1,000 units behind, just duplicating the year before. Like that's pressure. And you go, all right, well I gotta get used to that. So we gotta learn how to do it in half the time, which means the way you did it last year won't work anymore. And the biggest challenge that I have here is that it did work, so we want to do it what? We want to do it again because it already worked. Don't fix what isn't. I get it. Though that's not what you said when you said I want to double it in a year. When you said I want to double it in a year, you're saying I'm not just going to break it, I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to literally break it down. Now this is why an agent goes from a two-step listing process to a one-step listing process. Has anybody heard Craig Rieger teach about the 90 steps and 90 listings in 90 days? 90 steps, those are all mine, I copyright that stuff. 90 listings in 90 days. Now Craig's from Portland, Oregon, where all awesome agents come from. And one of the things that he did was when he was going to double his business, his coach said, what would be a big deal? And he said, well, if I took 90 listings in 90 days, that'd be a big deal. Game changer, right? Game changer. Now, what he found was he was doing a two-step listing, which means he'd go out to the house, then he'd get ready, he'd come back out and close it. Now, if you visit somebody twice, and you got to know who they are, and you kind of know the husband's this way and the wife's that way, or kind of whatever the situation is, you know you have like a 90% success on meeting 2, right? Like if one of you doesn't cancel meeting 2, you're listing this house. It's not a shock, it's not a surprise. Like you're listing this house like 99 times out of 100. And so Rieger was really comfortable with that. In fact, he even sold against the 1-step listings on the 2-step listing. You always sell what you are. And he would sell and go, man, I don't, maybe you've had other agents come by, I gotta tell you, I don't know how they really know what your home is worth. I don't know how they really know the best way to approach marketing your home when they haven't even seen it. So I know it takes a little longer, though. I believe in doing it the right way. He sold against the 1-step. So his coach said, if you want to do twice the amount of listings, would you like to work twice the hours? And he said, no, sir, I sure wouldn't. And he said, great, then we're going to a 1-step. And Craig goes, all I've ever known is 2. This is like when Tiger Woods changed his golf swing. He was terrible for a couple of years. I mean, it wasn't the girls and all that, it was the golf swing. And so when he changed his golf swing, he was terrible. Well, when Craig went from a 2-step to a 1-step, do you think it changed his success rate? Dramatically. Dramatically. I think you got to make peace with it. One of the biggest speakers at Family Reunion, Jeff Glover, made this comment. He said, "Listen, if you're listing more than 65% of the sellers you see, you're not seeing enough." What a low conversion rate, right? And of course, if you listen to the rest of his story, he said, what I mean by that is, if you've got an 80 or 90% success rate, you're probably listing your cousin's house and your friend's house and someone from church and someone you've worked with 10 times. He said, I want you to be talking with people that you literally just met and saying, will you list with me? And he said, now Jeff's on track to do 1,100 units this year. And he said, look, we're about a 65% success rate. We're proud of that because we're talking to people that don't know us. I mean, how easy is it when you've known somebody for 10 years to have them list with you? Like they trust you on your price, like it's a different deal. So anyway, just be cautious of that. Narrow focus on that first. Then you build onto it. Now, I'm okay if you do what you were doing, you may just have to double it. So if you were doing internet lead generation to sell 30 homes a year and you want to go to 60, I'm okay if you stick with internet lead gen. You may just have to triple the money to double the business, right? By the way, if money's involved, that's always the case. If you're paying $1,000 a month for PPC, for pay-per-click, and you're having X success from it, if you'd like to X double, it's not 1,000 going to 2,000. It's 1,000 going to 3,000. Because the more you spend, the lower the quality happens. It's just the way it is every time. Plus, you want it fast. So you have to almost overkill over time. It's just the way it is. So if we're looking at our PPC budgets and we want to double our leads somewhere, we don't just double the money, we have to triple the money and then let time run its course. Now, that's coming from somebody whose pay-per-click budget is pushing almost $30,000 a month. That's a lot of money. Now, then I want you to say no to distractions. So the issue with distractions is they show up in my life or your life too. Like we've got them, we've all got distractions. So Gary used to say this, he would say no is a full sentence. No is a complete sentence. When you say no to something, you're also saying yes to something. From there, it's going to be leads. So once you figure out what you'd like to do, you're going to double this business in 12 months. The only issue you have next is what? Leads. And until you have enough leads to double that business, you literally have no other problems. You don't have other challenges. It's not a customer service challenge. That's going to show up, but it's not the challenge. The real challenge is, do I have enough leads? Which means for a period of time, you may have to lead generate a little bit harder. You may have to lead generate a little bit colder. You may have to close a little bit faster just to have more leads, more leads, more leads. This is an overkill process if you want to do it in 12 months. Now, what that brings you to is when we're dealing with leads, am I going to be prospecting based or marketing based? Now, which one works better? I want you to say both. Both work better. Both are amazing. The reason we've been trained so well within KW for prospecting based is that that's the one that won't dry up our bank accounts. Fair? Nobody ever said prospecting worked better. Nobody ever said that. Go tell Coca-Cola that marketing doesn't work. And they're going to say, you're right, don't do it. Go tell an agent who markets heavily Like my friend Bob Lucido, who will do $12 million in commission this year. His marketing budget alone is in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands per month. Go tell him marketing is dumb. He'll say, you're right. See ya. Have a nice one. So nobody said one wouldn't work. Marketing or prospecting actually has nothing to do with which will work. The real question is, which can I afford? If I have money, I'm going to use marketing to buy my time. If I have a lack of money, I'm going to use my time to buy my money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That solves that problem right now. Does marketing work? Yes. Are you broke? Yep. Great. You're prospecting. Fine. And you prospect until you can implement or enhance with some marketing. That's okay. You just got to know where you are right now. That's fine. Now, what we like is prospecting based, marketing enhanced. So there would be some marketing. That's why I like internet lead generation so much. Because internet lead gen is like leverage lead gen. You wake up in the morning and there's an extra lead. You go and sign a listing, you come back and you're like, whoa, someone registered on my site. Awesome. They might want to buy a home in 29 months. Perfect. No, seriously. And in 29 months, I'm going to be glad I have it. And if I do it long enough, there's always going to be a brand new piece of business right now. We sold a home the other day in Portland to somebody who registered on our site originally 6 years ago. 6 years. And you know what? If you would have said to somebody 6 years ago, hey, here's a lead, it's John Doe, and John Doe's going to buy in about 72 months, they'd be like, and I'll bet you whoever had the lead 6 years ago probably did that. Though we stayed in touch, stayed in touch, then on a random Wednesday, John Doe wants to go see some homes. How important is John Doe now? You're my new best friend. And that's okay. You just need a system, you need a process that continues to do that. So I like internet lead generation for that. You know, Gary made the comment, he said, if you're a real estate agent in today's world and you don't have a robust lead generation internet marketing solution, you'll be extinct. He said, I don't know if it's 3 years away or 10 years away, but you will die. You have to have a great online presence. You just have to have it. And with that comes money and problems. Now, there's nothing wrong with both. It's just whichever one you have to be right now is what you do, and you buy one with the next. Now then it's going to be money. So the money conversation is next. With money, here's what I want you to do. This won't be on the slide, I took it out, so I want you to write this one down. So with money, I've got some interesting feelings as it relates to money to the real estate agent. And one of them is, I want you to have multiple accounts if you don't already. Now some of you do, and that's awesome, perfect, good for you. I ran for years without having that, and I learned it the hard way. So here's my rule of thumb. You have one account that all the commissions flow into. That account is not what you buy coffee at Starbucks from. It's not what you pay your mortgage from. It's not what you pay your car payment from. It's a what account? It's a business account, a capital account. It's a business account. Now from that account, I believe that you have two accounts flowing out of it. One account flowing out of it is where you pay yourself. So that's your personal account. And I believe that you ought to pay yourself a few different ways. And here's what I would say. Number one, every commission check that you receive, I think you ought to pay yourself in at least two ways. So one, as the agent, one, as the owner, and if you did your own transaction or your own paperwork, once as the TC. And what you'll find, and I know that's a little bit of work. Is it a little bit of work to write 3 checks? I mean, yeah, maybe it's 20 minutes worth of work. You could do this on QuickBooks yourself or pay a bookkeeper. I mean, it's literally no big deal. It's nothing. You could even just handwrite your own checks. I did that for a while. What you'll learn though is you close on Friday, you get paid on Monday or Tuesday, and you've got, we'll take a $10,000 check. You got $10,000, let's say after splits or whatever, you got 10 grand. And you go, well, I was a listing agent, so I'll pay myself whatever's fair of that number. We'll call it half. So you're paying yourself as the what? Listing agent. And then you say, well, I also did the marketing and I did my own paperwork, so I'm going to pay myself as the transaction coordinator, and here's what's left as a owner. Until you see the numbers this way, I think it's too easy to get lost in the math. It's too easy to get lost in what you actually made. If you're doing 3 jobs, I think you got to pay yourself 3 ways, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. By the way, is the 10 grand still great? Perfect, good, perfect, nothing wrong with that. Still spends the same to you. I mean, your 3 checks to yourself or 2 checks to yourself could still go into the same personal account, though it begins to change your thinking on how you're working. And you begin to go, okay, well, here's what I make when I'm a buyer's agent, here's what I make when I'm a listing specialist, and for some of you, what you'll find real fast is, here's what I make as an owner. I make nothing. Therefore, I don't really own a business right now. And if I do, it's not a good one. Is that good or bad?
It's a good mindset.
It's irrelevant, isn't it? It's just a mindset. It's irrelevant. If I've got a bad business, perfect. How do I make it a good one? If I have a good business, perfecter. How do I make it a gooder one? Both are fine. It's okay. What I like is I like the clarity. What I like is knowing what it really is. There's got a bunch of realtors out there calling themselves businesses when they're really not. I mean, number one, if you don't have a payroll, you're probably not a business. But calling yourself that. You're self-employed. That's different than being a business. And no harm, no foul, no judgment. All of it's fine. You can be a highly paid self-employed person. Just don't call yourself something that you're not. Now, the other account, though, that wouldn't be payroll would be what?
IRS.
Taxes. Taxes and IRS. Now, who in the room, and I'll raise my hand first, has been sideways with the IRS as a real estate agent? I've been sideways as an agent, and it was horrible. It was horrendous. It was 2003. I'd been in the business for a few years, and that summer, I owed the IRS 110 grand. And that summer, June through August, I paid off that money. It was horrendously difficult. The problem was, I was using commissions in 03 to pay back taxes, so what was I also causing? I was going to owe taxes in 04 for the money I was making in 03 that I paid for previous years. This became a 3-year hole that I had to climb out of. So a good rule of thumb is somewhere between 35 and 45%, which is going to be above most tax brackets in the room, though then you have a little bit of what? Yes. Now, I've played some weird games here. There's been times in my life that I wasn't great with money. There's been times in my life that I used money that I shouldn't. So for a while, I put the account in somebody else's name. Somebody I trusted, of course. I put it in somebody else's name so I couldn't what? Rob it. So I couldn't rob it. Now, if I was in desperate times and my daughter was sick, would they get? Of course. Though I couldn't just go use it. Because I'm always the guy that thinks I can fix something later. You ever that person? You ever that person that doesn't make calls on Tuesday, you're just going to make double the calls on Friday and Saturday? Right. And somehow Friday and Saturday don't ever come. It's like the diet I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to nail it tomorrow. I've already had 1 chip, so I might as well have 2 cakes. I've already blown the diet today. I mean, I know we all think this way. I get it. I know, man. I know. And that's like slashing all 4 tires because you get 1 flat. It's the same principle. So I think that's what you ought to do with the money. Then what you ought to do with the money from there is I want you to pay quarterly taxes because businesses pay them when? Quarterly, so start paying them quarterly. Now, for a while I couldn't be trusted, so what I did was I sent that money to the IRS every single month. I mean, it wasn't even a quarterly, so I just sent them a check. Trust me, they will take your check. They never sent one back to you. They never once. At the end of the year, I told my accountant, and I sent X amount of thousands in checks, here's what went in, and he goes, why did you do that? And I said, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have it today. And at the time, this would have been like 06, 07, I knew that about myself. I wasn't fighting it. I made peace with it and just dealt with it. So today I can do it differently, though for a while that's exactly what I did. Now after money, it's going to be listings. So listings become the leverage. Now listings could be listings for sellers. They can also be listings for buyers. You know, I feel like this whole conversation has shifted in the last 3 or 5 years. It used to be so seller focused because of time for a seller. I gotta tell you, today is the disparity of time as great as it used to be between sellers and buyers, or how much time you spend on each one. It's not what it used to be. I mean, it used to be that if every seller was, we'll just call it 10 hours, it really wasn't. If we called sellers 10 hours, how many hours were buyers back in the late 1990s or early 2000s?
50.
Yeah, 30, 40, 50, because of all the buyer chewers, right? And we'd be showing and showing and showing. And today, with all the technology, how many of you have shown a home one time and sold that home? How many of you have had a buyer buy a home almost sight unseen? Or even unseen just with video or photos? Yes. That did not happen in 1998. Like, I remember early 2000s selling a home to somebody like that. Like, I brought out a video camera, I took the video out of it, I mean, like, today it's so fast and easy. So fast and easy. So, for me, it's listings for both. Now, the challenge is you've got to use your listings to get more, and I'll dig on that in a second. So from there, it's going to be buyer or seller. Which is it going to be? Now, if I could choose, I'm going to choose what? Seller. Though I'm not going to say no to what?
Buyers.
To buyers. Now, in my world, do you have any challenge with a buyer that wants to look at 4 or 5 homes and select one? Nope. Do you have a challenge with buyers who want to look forever?
Yes.
Yep. And like you ask them, so about how long have you been looking? And they go 19 months. And you go, perfect, I know somebody who'd be a great agent for you. And you think of your least favorite agent and you tee him up. You're like, Mom, I have a new client for you. Now, the reality is this. You don't have a problem with great buyers. You love great buyers. So what your real challenge is a lack of what? Choices. When you have a lack of choices, you end up working with people who aren't motivated. When you have an abundance of choices, you pick the ones who are motivated, you hand the other ones off. You find someone in the office or down the hall and you hand them off. That's okay. By the way, the benefit of always having a bucket of leads like that is if you ever have a bad month or get into a bad stretch, you can take those back. Be cautious with handing these out too early. Be cautious with that. Now, current listings to take more. So the next piece, if you're going to double your business in 1 year, every listing you have has to be a multiple of, which means a listing on XYZ 123 Street has to be accounted for in 2 other listings, or at least 2 other solid leads. Now, I'm a caveman when it comes to some of this, and so the easiest tracking system for this is a piece of paper on the wall. I'm a caveman with it. You write the address of the listing that you have, Terrence, and then you put 2 columns next to it. Easy peasy, it's done right now. And you're not done until you have a name or a lead in each of those 2 columns. And every single one has to be squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. Now, some of the tips for doing that is current listings to take more. On the listing side, what's the easiest way on the listing side to make that happen?
Sign calls.
Sign calls. Sign calls are king again. I mean, king again. By the way, your sign calls, do you have them come into a dedicated line or the same number that the school calls when your kids sick? I like a dedicated line. I like a second phone if you can. Though today with cell phone technology, can you have 2 different lines on the same phone? Can one ring different or buzz different? Yeah, and when that thing rings or buzzes differently, that's the back phone. And you know there's only one person that calls that. A buyer in front of a house or a realtor who needs to know about it. One of the 2. And so you know exactly how to answer it. Now the other line, that's just someone selling you something sometimes. I mean, I don't know how many times in your career have you heard, if you just sold 1 home with this, it would pay for itself.
Oh my God.
Well, I could justify everything with that. I'd have a Tesla and a Hummer behind it. I just sold 1 house with each of these. I mean, come on. It's just ridiculous. Now, on buyers, though, we tend to know about sellers. What do we do with buyers? How do we use a buyer listing to get more listings?
Open house.
So open houses, so
Reverse prospecting, right?
reverse prospecting. I like reverse prospecting. So one of the things I like about Sync is being able to go in and look who are all the people I know that are looking for or have a home like this. What else for buyers? With buyers, you lose the sign call, right? What if you had a way of getting sign calls with buyers?
With a voice pad.
Do you use a sign after you close on the buyer that goes up in the yard that says buyer brought by or buyer represented by XYZ? And that sits in the yard for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever's appropriate. Now the easiest way to do that is you put that into the buyer listing agreement. And when you're getting a buyer listing signed, you say, you know, one of the ways that we find inventory for our buyers is we use reverse prospecting. Can I explain? And the buyer goes, sure. Like, I don't know. They go, sure. And you go, well, when we close on a home, we put a sign up that says that we brought the buyer, and then we call the whole neighborhood, and sure enough, somebody else wants to sell. And we find inventory before it's even on the market. If I could show you one of those homes, would you like to see it? And the answer is always yes. And you go, great. So I need you to do the same thing for the next buyer. So when I close on your home, whichever one we find for you, when I close on yours, can I put a sign up for 3 weeks so I could use it to find the next seller? And they go, sure, that's fine. Again, 90%. 1 out of 50 will tell you no. Almost everybody says, sure, no problem. Then all of a sudden, the other sign comes down when your buyer closes. You put your sign up, you do a call around that neighborhood, and all of a sudden you find 1 or 2 more listings from it. Because you tell the story, hey, you probably saw the sign change, and they go, no. And you go, well, you probably saw the sign change, and the reason was the person before had it listed, I actually have the buyers, and I brought the buyer. So since I have more buyers for the neighborhood, who do you know that are you getting my point to this? This is something that if you did it for the next 2 years, you'd never stop doing it. You would never, ever stop doing it. Now, you can also do open houses that are private for sellers. We like that. We like private open houses because you know that the neighbors come by, don't you? Like, you know that. Why don't you just set up an open house for them? And tell them, hey, we're doing an open house at 1, though at 12:15 we're opening the door just for the neighbors to look. Are you okay if a buyer walks in? Sure. You're not going to kick him out and go, oh, got to come back in 40 minutes. This is neighbors only, buckwheat. You're not going to do that. You're going to let them in. No, it's the story that you're telling that actually matters. Now, how about buyer adoptions? Do you adopt the buyers on the cross section?
Yes.
So when you have a listing closed, does that buyer end up in your database?
Yep. Yep.
My favorite thing to say at family reunion is, yeah, I do that starting tomorrow. Like, yeah, I do that starting next week. So then that's your orphan business, and you put those buyers in. Now I'll tell you, the only trick to it is this: you run the exact same 33 touch that you have for everybody, though there's one different touch, and it's the first touch. And touch number 1 says, hey, you recently bought a home that we had listed on XYZ 123 Street, blah, blah, blah. Thanks for buying this listing. I hope you enjoy it just as much as the Johnson family did when they lived here. All the best of luck. Talk to you later. Something very easy peasy. The very next touch is just like any other 33 touch. Now, where I really got this was when I was selling in Anchorage, Alaska. I went into my database one day and there was a note, actually there's a note on my computer that said, open up your database and look up blah, blah person. And it was a listing appointment for the next day. Well, it's always cool to come back to your office and see that you have a teed up listing appointment. Like, that's rad. And so I looked, and the guy's name was Bob. And I looked, and here's Bob. Bob was an orphan buyer from 2.5 years before. And he'd been getting the same 33 touches as everybody else. I went out to Bob's house, I knocked on the door. He opens it. As I'm walking in, he goes, Cody, I'm so glad you came. Ever since you sold me the home, I've known I wouldn't hire anybody but you. And I said, great, sign here. I mean, who am I to tell somebody they're wrong? I don't make a business of that. No, seriously, for 2.5 years, he'd been hearing from me, he actually thought we sold him the home. You see, we think that people remember us, and they flat don't. They just don't. Come on, they don't. NARS told us this for years. 70 to 80% of all those home sellers and buyers say they use their agent again, and 10 to 15% actually do. And most of them say they can't remember the name of their agent. You are not as important to the transaction as we make ourselves think we are. We're just not. Now, current listings to take more. And what will happen is this: the first few that you do this with, you might find more listings from, though over the course of a year or 2, you actually make it a practice. And anything done over and over and over again becomes easier with time. You get better at it. Now, from there, if you're going to double your business in a year, I think you're going to have to do some opens. I'm not a huge fan of opens for a long-term business strategy. I'm a massive fan of opens for right now business strategy. So I dig that. Now, if you're going to do them, though, at least level 5. Like in Shift, you can look at the page and it actually shows you all the different levels. I don't remember the exact page number.
71.
Perfect. So page 71. So you can actually go in and look, and it'll give you all the different levels. So at least do a level 5. If you're going to do level 3s and 4s, I'm going to tell you there's some better use of time than opens. So do at least a level 5. I don't know, you have to do a level 7, at least level 5. Cars and calls, canvas and knock. By the way, I like different marketing than other people. So if the majority of people in your marketplace use that small A-frame sign for opens, do a tall sandwich board for opens. Just be different. Just be different. Look different. Do something different. Back in Portland, until we expanded and it got very difficult, back in Portland, we had different signs. Everybody in town was using the yard arm sign with a little hanger thing, and so we just did the ones that went in the yard. That was hard to do in Alaska because of the snow and the ice. Though we just wanted to be different. Just different. That's it. Just different. We didn't want to look the same as everybody else. Now from there you have to think leverage. Question?
I was just gonna say, in thinking of what to do marketing, this is one open house beats the other open house. So we're just trying to figure out ways to stand out, so it's something that's color.
Oh, beats the other open house, nice.
Beats the other open house,
I like
something
it.
to really stand out.
Yeah, don't go to that one.
Exactly.
We haven't seen the people that went to that one for years. when short sales were a big deal, and I'll bring these back, we had sign writers that said beat the bank. They told us that said beat the bank. Everybody wants to beat a bank. I mean, nobody likes banks. They've got too much money. It's ridiculous, though people like it. So then it's leverage. Now, when it comes to leverage, I want you to write down two things. So write this down. One leverage is money direct. One leverage is money indirect. And where we get missed is we miss all the money indirect. So Terrence was alluding to it a few minutes ago when someone asked him about leverage, and he started talking about vendors. That's somebody who's smart enough to think money indirect. Who am I already supporting? That's money indirect with business, who can support me back. So one of the things that we've done is, do you have your, so like we use Fidelity Title. And I know that you guys have different title issues and all that. Do you close with attorneys here or attorneys? Attorneys. Now, do you get to choose what attorney you close with?
Yep.
Okay, so could you choose one attorney over a different one?
Yep.
Okay, so does service matter?
Yep.
Perfect. So could you use an attorney that would close on your file for you, that part of the closing process was asking for referrals for you?
Yep.
So with Fidelity Title, who I use in all of our states where we don't, unless we're here, with Fidelity Title, what they have is they have a custom closing process, which you could totally duplicate with your attorney here, that takes them through a survey. Would you like to have a survey done at the end of closing? I'll tell you, it is hard, like pulling teeth sometimes, to get a survey done after closing. Like 2 weeks later, a month later, we're begging them to fill out a survey. We've given free coffee cards. We've said, hey, fill out our survey. It's just pulling teeth. Like, do you like filling out surveys? No. Though if you do it at the time of closing, how easy is it? Simple. Well, the end of the survey is who else needs to be working with so-and-so. That's leverage. Another one is lenders. Do you have a favorite lender that you work with?
Yep.
Are there some things that your favorite lender could pay for, sponsor, or help with? And sometimes it's staff. Sometimes it's not even direct dollars. Sometimes with RESPA or different things, like I'm a little weird on the money, I can't do that. And you say, well, great, I need to do these 3 things or these 4 things. You've got 2 administrators and I don't have any. Could I use your 2 administrators to do these 3 tasks every week? And they go, yeah, we can do that. You go, great. Could they do your open house flyers? Could they do your flyers? You guys get my point. Just think through it. Just think money direct and money indirect. Now you also have leverage when you have VAs. So Terrence mentioned VAs. Anybody in the room using virtual assistants? So VAs can be fantastic. So at any one time, my group has between 3 and 10 virtual assistants. I've had as many as 15. Though virtual assistants can be fantastic. They're good and bad. There's pros and cons to it. By the way, the average cost for our VAs right now are about $6 an hour. That's really good money. I had one VA in the Philippines that worked with me for so long, and I was paying her at the time $4 an hour, that she moved her entire family into a nice condo in Cebu City. It was beautiful. It'd be like Santa Monica to us, right? LA. Beautiful, beautiful condo. $4 an hour was awesome. There's some things that you can and can't do, though. Just think through it. So think incremental and think affordable. So one of the mistakes that people make with doubling their business in 1 year is they want everything to happen when?
Now.
Right now, right now, right now. I need you to think incremental. So what little step could I take forward? And as long as you're taking little steps forward, you'll end up running a race. As much as I've read the book and the story, the tortoise always wins. It's okay to be moving slow if you're moving what? Forward. If you're moving forward. The problem is because we don't like slow, most of us, in the absence of speed, we choose nothing. If we can't go fast, we stall out. That's a problem. The very thing that you said you didn't want to do, you're going slower than slow. Because to avoid slow, you did nothing. Be careful with that. Think affordable. Now, affordable is interesting. I think one thing is this. I would challenge this whole room to leave today and find somewhere in your business and life that you can cut 10% of your expenses. Find somewhere. Now, I didn't say go home and cut services. I didn't say go home and leave the team you're on, because that would change your split overnight. I didn't say go home and leave KW and go to some crazy company that charges you $80 a month and see it. I didn't say that. Cheap is not cutting expense. I would press you that you probably have expense creep somewhere. One of the hacks to this, if you want to do something crazy, is just go home and cancel all of your credit cards. What happens when you cancel your credit cards?
Automatic charges.
Everybody shows up. 2 months later, you start getting calls and emails going, hey, we need you to update your credit card. You go, for what? And they're like, oh, this service you've had for 10 years. And you go, oh yeah, that $24 a month that I never looked at, that is now hundreds of dollars a year. Are you kidding me? Go home and change those credit cards. I didn't say cut them up, just change them. Change the numbers, you'll find out real fast. So we did that against our will. The card was stolen. And the very next month, a few months ago, in the business account, we found $3,700 a month in auto build stuff that we didn't need. $3,700. Now my expenses today push about $135,000 to $145,000 per month. So $3,700 is a small variable of that, though I'll bet you the percentage looks the same for you.
I'll borrow your card, I'll only take out 15.
Yeah, yeah, good luck. Depends on what day of the month. That might work or might not work, right? Yeah, I get it. Now, from there I want you to think strategy. One of the things that holds most real estate agents back is they think like real estate agents. If you think like a strategist, you go, wait. Every one thing I do must have a multiple of 3 or 4. I have to have a what? An ROI, which stands for return on investment. Now that makes sense with money. Are you using it for your time? Money's the easy one. Time's the harder one. By the way, which one has more value, money or time? Time does. So everything you do that you touch with time, that you pay with time, also has to have an ROI. Now, in a money multiple, what's a good ROI for a real estate agent? For every dollar out, how many dollars in?
3, 8, 7.
So I've heard 3, 7, 8. Are all of those fine? So what I want you to write down is this. It depends. I've got some that I have $1 out and $1 back, and it's a massive win. Because it's $1 back for the company, though the associates in the company that sell homes because of it, is it a huge return for them? Say yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So I want you to think outside of real estate for a moment. If you're a roofing company, if you do roofs, like shingles on roofs, right? And in the wintertime, maybe it's a little bit slower than the summertime, right? Mm-hmm. Would you bid some roofs just to keep your crew busy in the wintertime? Yeah, it happens all the time, right? Because they can't afford to lose those contractors. Because if they lose those contractors in the spring, they're hosed. They can't find them. And so a roofing company will say, well, my ROI, that depends on what time of year we're in. If it's January, my ROI might just be keeping my people happy. So as a business, I've got some ROIs that are literally 1 for 1 that you would say, well, that's a terrible return. And I go, well, no, because it created $81,000 in commission last month. It was just 1 for 1 to the business, not to the partner, not to the associate. Now, what you would like to see is a 4 to 1 or a 5 to 1. Like that's the nirvana of real estate investment of can I get $4 or $5 for every 1 out. Now, if it's 3, that's skinny because the first dollar back just does what?
Pay taxes.
You're just back at 0. You just got the money back that you spent. The next dollar goes to taxes. The other dollar becomes what? Profit maybe. And if you're taking notes, profit maybe means when you have an ROI, you typically have more what to deal with? More business, and if you have more business, you also end up with more what? More expenses. So this is why a real estate agent on their own, this is why expansion is such an interesting beast, because the typical real estate agent starts to get busy and they bring on what? They bring on people and stuff. Well, people and stuff cost dollars, which is why so many agents hit this no man's land. They get to 6 or 8 million, they go, all right, I'm killing it. And they go and they add people and systems and tools. They go to 15 million or 20 million, but they somehow make less money than when they were doing 5 and 7 million. They go, to heck with this. I made more money doing half the business or a third of the business. Like my net has gone down. That's no man's land to a real estate agent, and it happens every day. By the way, Chad, you've been around real estate since dirt. Is this new, or has this been the same forever?
Same forever.
Now the volume number changes. Like it used to be, 8 million. Well, now with sales prices going up and us getting better, 8 million isn't that big of a deal. Like it used to be. Is that thunder?
Yeah. We have that over here.
I'm scared of thunder. Did you guys see Ted? You wouldn't watch a movie like that. Yeah, never mind. So here's what happens though. Today, it used to be that if you sold 100 homes a year, like you were King Kong. Like you sold 100 homes? Oh my, you remember these days. Oh my gosh. Today, if you sell 100 homes, someone goes, don't give up on yourself. You keep at it. Don't you give up. This is a hard business. You just keep at it. You go, what? It used to be that you were on stage with 100. I want you to think strategy. So here's what I would write for this. If what, then what? That's how I look at it. If I do blank, what will happen because of it? And you have to start basing you have to start basing the decisions on what return do I get back. And at some point, your own time isn't worth it. So one of the things, I was coaching this agent who's not even in our expansion company, I was coaching this agent that what they did was they just found a newer agent in the office and they taught them how to do CMAs, we call them APIs, taught them how to do CMAs only so that that person would do CMAs so they can send them out to their database. And that was like an apprenticeship program. It lasted about 6 months. And that's fine. And then that person went and found another one. And that's fine. And that was affordable labor. By the way, what was the benefit that that junior agent got? Experience, man. I mean, you cannot tell me someone who's been around for 12 or 14 years and has done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sales can't teach somebody who just started yesterday about valuing homes. That's awesome. It just has a lifespan to it. Like it's got a 6-month lifespan. That's cool. And so the person goes, what do I do when they leave? And I said, find another one. What'd you do when your spouse left? You found another. I'm just not a different class. Totally different class. We do that on Tuesdays. Now, think strategy. Now, I just make sure you're listening sometimes. And you know I'm telling the truth. Now, think numbers. You know, one of the challenges with real estate agents is we don't like numbers. We don't want to think numbers. And of course, you've heard this, so I'll repeat it. Numbers are the language of business. So if you want to be a business, you have to know your numbers. And you just begin spouting off these numbers. Now, the easiest way to know your numbers is to write them down and keep them with you. And that sounds ridiculous. I'm archaic with this. I am just archaic with it. If you looked at my cell phone, in my iPhone, in the notes section, I've got number after number after number. And it tells me exactly how many homes we sold this month last year. It tells me how many homes we've sold so far this month. And I just track it there. And it probably lives on a better spreadsheet somewhere. The problem is it takes me what to go get it? Time. And I can just look on my phone and in 10 seconds I have it. Quit making this thing harder than it needs to be. This could be so simple. Now, with numbers, back when I was at Kmart, anybody ever work in retail besides me? Yeah, like I used to think I don't have a great resume, but I've got a drawer full of hairnets and name tags. Like I remember from Kmart, the amazing, blazing, bright blue, beaming beacon of bargains.
Blue light special.
The blue light special. Now, in retail, here's what they have. So back in those days, they would fax us. By the way, if you still fax something, you should just get out. Like, no offense to anybody, though. I mean, it's dead. It is dead. And the dinosaur it came on is also dead. It's gone. It's gone. You look silly. Don't fax. So here's what happens. Back in those days, though, on the fax machine, every morning when I came into the office to open the Kmart store, the very one thing sitting on that rolled up thermal paper was last year's sales on this day. And if you know retail, you know the term beat last year. That's the term in retail. My favorite babysitter works at Gap. And I was talking with her about you know what she's learning at work and what it's like. And she goes, well, you know what? I'm not gonna be able to watch the kids this week on Tuesday because we've got blah blah blah. And I said, oh, tell me more. And she goes, well, you know, we didn't beat last year yesterday. I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, in the break room there's a giant piece of paper that says, you know, $7,400. And I said, oh, you mean you know your numbers? Listen, guys, if Gap can do this, I think you could know your numbers. Do you know how many listings you took last year in the month of May? If it was 0 or 1 or 4, it doesn't matter. Just know what it is. And what if you always beat last year? You'll eventually what? You'll eventually double your business. And I think we look for a harder answer. We want it to be difficult, and it's not difficult. It's as simple as Gap. Gap has this thing figured out. So take a lesson from retail. They know their numbers. Now, then I want you to think service. Now, you can see how deep I've placed service in here. Is service important? Say yes.
Yes.
And if you don't have any business to serve, who cares how good your service is? And I'll also tell you, this is where people kick me out. If you're not producing very much business, which is totally up to you of what you consider to be a lot or a little, I'll tell you, I'm not sure it's very good service. Like John, you tell me if I need to stop. I struggle with somebody who sells 2 homes a year saying they give great service. Just how much do you really know about the market or this business with 2 wholesales a month? I mean, 2 wholesales a year. How much do you really know? Does that person really know how to advise somebody in this market right now?
No.
I sold 2 just last year. I know what I'm doing. I just struggle with that, man. I think what most realtors tell us when they say, well, Cody, you know, I'm all about service. What they're actually saying is I don't want to lead generate. That's what they're actually saying. So they're just going to hide behind the service, though they don't have a way to give the service to, so who really cares? It's kind of irrelevant. No offense to anybody in this room, though I've just always struggled with that. I've never liked that. I think it's garbage. It's garbage. So I do want you to think service. Now, service is also productivity. If you're not doing enough sales, and you choose what that is, I mean, to me, it's at least 20 or 22 a year. Like nobody in this room, unless you're doing this very part-time, can't go sell 20 or 22 a year. That's 2 a month. That's 2 whole weeks. You don't even have to do anything. When you think about it that way, isn't that interesting? Then I want you to think to the now. So the note that I would write is this: tomorrow's important, though now is vital. When you're doubling your business in 1 year, you basically set the goal and you almost set it and forget it. Remember the old Bronco commercial, set it and forget it? That's what I need you to do with this. Here's where I'm going to at the end of the year, though if I don't focus right now, the end of the year won't matter. I won't even get there. Right now is what matters. This morning, this afternoon, today. Think to the now. Now from there, I want you to think money. Now, this is different than where you put your money. So for here, I do want you investing more in your business than you are currently. If you're going to double in 1 year, it's probably going to cost you some dough. So I want you to look to your neighbor, the one that you like the less. The least. I told you I dropped out of high school. Look at the person you like the least and say it's going to cost you some money. And is there anything wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's interesting how it's only the real estate agent who says, how much can I get for nothing? Like I've got this, well, I think it's cool. I've got this cool private Facebook group, and it's called Real Estate Agents Who Want Real Results. It's the worst name in the whole wide world. And now that we have 12 or 13,000 people, we may never change it. When we started that page, we couldn't think of a better name, so that was just a space keeper. Real Estate Agents Who Want Real Results. REAWWRR. And so we just put it on as a placeholder. And the 2 yahoos and I who we started it with, we couldn't figure out anything better, so we just left it. Anyway, the other day someone posted in there, and no offense, they said, what would be the best investment that I could make as a real estate agent? Blah, 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 best direct return, blah, blah, blah. By the way, I got 100 a month. Well, 100 a month? The best investment for you is probably a phone. Or a list, $100. Now, why do you think I told you to cut your budget somewhere? So you can put the money into the business. I want you to go home and cut your money. Cut your money. Can you find 10% at home you don't have to spend? Would that be $400 a month or $800 a month? Could you find 10% in the business? Would that be thousands? Whatever it is. You cut it, not so you can sit there and look at it. You cut it so you can put it somewhere with smarts. That's why you cut it. So Gary, in February of this year, Keller Williams had just come off of the biggest year ever in 2016, biggest January ever, and at the State of the Company meeting in February, Gary said to every department head, go back to your department, cut the budget by 15%. Times are bad. Everybody had just made more money than ever, and Gary said, this is when you cut the budget. If you wait till business is bad, you can't cut the budget on purpose. You'll cut it out of necessity because you don't have the money anymore. You see, when times are good, like right now in the business, this is where you cut the budget. Trust me, when the market shifts again, I will not need to remind you to cut the budget. You will say, Cody, it cut me for it. Like it came, I didn't have to go looking for it. Now is the time you do it. You cut when you're up. And also when you're up, what happens to the business? If you've ever run businesses outside of real estate, you've heard of expense bloat. Well, the more you do, the more bloat there is. It just shows up. You go, I had no idea I was spending this. So go cut the money so you could reinvest it wisely. That's how you hack it and get it there faster. Now, from there, I want you to think vision. Now, with vision, it's about where do I want this thing to go? What do I want it to look like? And so many of us set our vision so low, and the vision is so I can get by. So I can just make it, so I can pay my bills. The challenge with that is nobody in their mind, in their subconscious mind, wants to just make it or just pay their bills. I need you to think bigger than that. Now, I've been the guy that just paying my bills would be like a monumental thing, like this is cool, I want to get there. And you get there because you overshoot. Think about that story from the MREA book of climbing Mount Everest and climbing Mount Whitney. It's the same idea. So I need you to think bigger than what you thought. Now, I shared with our expansion group this morning, there was a day that I wrote to be in 40 cities by 2020. Now, when I wrote that, we had 2 cities. I was in 2. I was in both cities, which at the time, only 2 other people in the country had even expanded, period. So 2, we were like, man, we got this. Like, we're doing it, right? Well, I thought 40 by 2020 was going to be massive. It's May of 2017, and we're in 47 right now. So way ahead of what? Way ahead of goal. And I've left that it's in our written vision that we'd be in 40 cities by 2020, and my executive staff would come back and say, we need to change it. And I said, I want to leave it because it's my reminder of how little I was thinking when I thought I was thinking to the moon. Because at the time I thought 40 was massive. And how wrong was I? We beat it in half the time. We'll actually be in 250 by 2020, maybe 300. And it's my reminder to myself that even when I think I'm thinking big, man, check yourself. Because you may not be. Where could we be right now if I wouldn't have been thinking so little a few years ago? And thinking big is relative. If you're writing notes, I want you to write that down. Thinking big is simply relative to who you're hanging out with. If you hang out with me and we talk about that, thinking big looks one way. If you hang out with someone who's trying to sell their second home for the month every month, thinking big to them looks different. And that's neither good nor bad. It's just who do you want to hang out with. And you've heard all the things before, that you're the average sum of the 5 people you hang out with. All those things are true. They're all truthy. They're not the whole truth. They're just part of it. Now for thinking vision, I want you to go think from E to P. Now so many of you have seen E to P going from entrepreneurial to purposeful. You've seen this over and over and over again. What I want you to think about it though is in a little bit of a different light. The challenge is when you go from E to P, so from entrepreneurial to purposeful, what are the 5 steps to going to purposeful? Do you remember what they are? So here's what I would do. I'm going to write these out for you. So you've seen this. I know you have. And I'm going to give you the abbreviated version. You have E to P, and this is your ceiling of what? Ceiling of achievement. And you get started, and you take off, and all of a sudden you ramp up, your business is going great. At some point you hit a ceiling of achievement, and you start to kind of do this. Anybody ever do this in their business before, by the way? Yeah. And maybe even you do this, and you're like, yes! And then you do that, and you go, no! And what happens is you begin to hit your head on some ceiling of achievement. If you don't stop hitting your head, it starts to freaking hurt. Like you get a headache. So here's what happens. If you don't fix it here, there's some stages of decline. So the first stage, does anybody remember what the first stage is?
Disappointment?
First stage is disappointment. You got it. So disappointment. So disappointment like, oh man. You know, like in your first 3 years of real estateism, it's not too hard to double your business every year. And like year 4, you go to your TL, you're like, I've been doubling my business every year. And they're like, I know, everybody does. And you go, well shoot, I'm not doubling anymore. They go, I know. It stops happening unless you start doing something different. Like you were just showing up and breathing and doing some stuff and it doubled. And you thought that was a business model. It's not, that's just the beginning. So here's what happens. You get disappointed, you're like, oh shoot, I wonder if this is just the way it is. I'm not gonna get any better. If you don't fix it at disappointment, it goes into what? Resignation. You got it. Somebody knows this. So resignation. So resignation says this. I guess I'm not going to get better at this. I guess I'm a 3-a-month guy. I guess this is as good as it gets. By the way, have you done this with a hobby or a sport? You start a new sport, you get really good really fast. And then you cease getting really gooder faster. You hit your ceiling of achievement, and then you get bored. By the way, how many of you are like me, and when you start a sport, you end up owning everything for it? Like, you may never do it again, but you have a closet full of everything you may need for it. Like, you go diving twice, and you have all the equipment, because you might need it. If you don't fix it here at resignation, it goes into the third, which is greener pastures. And greener pastures is this is where real estate agents go to work for title companies. Or mortgage companies. They go, well, I used to like real estate. I don't want to leave the industry. I'm just going to do something different. The challenge is if you don't fix it here, the cycle goes on and on and on and on and on. By the way, no offense, I've got my stories too. Does this happen with personal relationships? Does it happen to marriages that you know? Don't point. That's rude. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Going pretty good. Awesome. I guess that's as good as it gets. I thought I was marrying Prince Charming. I found out that I got a couch that burps. You'll get it tomorrow. Somebody will help. Here's the thing. Hang on. To break through this ceiling of achievement, this is entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurial has a lot of syllables for me. I'm a caveman. Easy. This is just easy. Like I show up and I answer the phone and I talk to people and I'm good to people. I built a decent business off of showing up, talking to people on the phone, and being good to people. And so can you. The problem was it wasn't the greatest business. Now, if you want to bust through this ceiling of achievement, that stands for a lot of activity. That's hellacious energy. It's a lot of activity. It's up early, up late. Like something has to change. I mean, you've heard the whole saying, if you do what you've always done, you get what you've always got. Doing the same thing over and over again, expect different results. You guys get all this. You've heard all the sayings. To bust through that ceiling of achievement, though, one thing is this. When you break through one ceiling of achievement, you ultimately find what?
Another one.
Another one. Now, here's the 5 steps, which is what I was going for a minute ago. It's FOMSA. I'm good with acronyms, and what KW needs is one more. So with FOMSA, the first step is this. If you want to break through a ceiling of achievement, first is focus. So focus is, I want to go double my business. Fair? That's what we're talking about right now. We'll leave that one at that. I'm going to go get leads. I'm going to go lead generate. I'm going to do my 4-in-1. Focus. The second, though, is options. Once you figure out what you're going to do, are there multiple options? Say yes.
Yes.
There's lots of ways. Tons of ways. So once you go investigate some options, then M is models. So models is the third. Somebody in this room should be attacking Terrence at the end of the day for, hey, what's your model for doing your 411? Do you do it on Sundays? Do you do it on Mondays? Do you sit down alone and do it? Do you do it with somebody else? Somebody should be hounding this guy. By the way, is the success showing up?
Yeah.
Same, triple. Yeah, you better ask some questions. He should call me in a week and say, I don't know why you did that because now I'm too busy. Answering questions. You know, one of the things that we find about top agents and top producers is they're rarely ever asked. They are rarely ever asked, which is such a waste, such a waste. So FOMSA, focus, options, models. The next is systems. No matter what you want to do, well, there'll be some systems for it. Good systems, bad systems, indifferent. The fifth, though, is this. So I do ACCT, it's accountability. The problem is most agents get clear about where they want to go, and they take the focus, I got to double, and they take the accountability, I got to go do it right now, and they're gone. The problem is that does work to varying degrees. Ever heard the old saying, pull yourself up by the bootstraps? That's the F and the A. Focus, I got to pull myself up. Accountability, freaking go! And because it works to a varying degree, that becomes someone's success formula. And every time they want to go do something, they go, well, here's where I want to go, and it's time to go. Here's what I want to do, and push harder. You know what realtors are good at doing? Pushing. The challenge is pushing doesn't build businesses. Pulling builds businesses. You can only push so long. Pulling and attracting is what builds a business. Pushing might build an okay income, though. What we do is we skip options, models, and systems, and that's where the secret sauce is. The reason I think that so many fail, I think there's a handful of reasons. I think one reason is that they said it in a moment of weakness. It's just like that person that hires a trainer and says, I want to have a six-pack. And the trainer says, good, because we're starting with a keg. And when they get to work on gaining that six-pack, part of the way through they go, this was too much work. I'm not sure I want it that bad. I get up that early every day. I can't eat this. I do eat that. Are you kidding me? I drink 2 gallons of water. I need a bathroom with me. Like when you drink that much water, you remember when you had kids, or some of you still have kids at home? Like you walk in by the bathroom and you go, well, I just want you to just try. When you're drinking 2 gallons of water, you walk by a bathroom and you go, I'll just try. I bet it works. I'm gonna go in and try. Like, you're a 4-year-old and you're, well, I'll just try. Like, I don't need to, I'll try. Getting on an airplane, I'm gonna try. I get in my wetsuit, I'm gonna try. Whoops. Now, the reason I think so, everybody pees in their wetsuit. It is a fact of triathlon life. Fact. 2 things about Ironman. Everybody pees in the wetsuit and don't trust a farmer. They don't let me east of Denver for a reason. Now, here's why I think so many people fail. Number 1, they said they wanted something, they're not that committed to it. Imagine being a grandma and grandpa, and you've got a 55-year marriage run. And you're talking to a tyke, a 19-year-old, that says, we're going to get married and we love each other. Do you think grandma and grandpa have some perspective on this? And they go, be careful. Be careful. It's harder than you think. It's not what you thought it would be. It can also be great in ways you never even imagined. Though you don't know what you don't know. And I think so many people fail because they think it sounds good. I also think that people try to keep up with the Joneses with this. There's people that are in expansion right now, that's the world that I play in, that are truly only there because they think it's the next thing to do. And that's okay. By the way, our company is riddled, and the industry is riddled with teams that shouldn't be teams. They're teams because they just thought, well, that's the next thing I should go do, and that's okay. You can't do this wrong. I mean, if you're happy with what you have, then you're right. Nothing wrong with that. Now, if we're being honest with this, one of the things that I know about it is that it takes longer than you think. It's probably going to be harder than you thought. And you need something that pulls you through it. Now, we like to think that we're short on resources. Like, I didn't have this resource or that resource. I didn't have this many leads. I didn't have that many things. I didn't have a transaction coordinator to help. I didn't have an assistant. All that stuff, it's all truthy. We don't have a lack of resources. What we have is a lack of resourcefulness. The challenge is we're not resourceful enough in the right ways. You see, you've proven time and time again, if you really want something, you what? You get it. You make it happen. I mean, real estate agents, you guys will move mountains to get a new phone when your phone dies. You didn't have $800 yesterday for a great class, but if your phone's dead, you have a brand new one. And I'm okay with that. Like, we all find a way, right? We all find a way. So my son's dating this girl, and he's 15, so dating means they talk on the phone.
You text,
You know,
they don't talk.
Yeah, well, they text. Well, I make him FaceTime. Because at least then he's what? At least he's actually having to converse with somebody. Like, not with his opposable thumbs. Now, the challenge with it is he's got some perspectives on this, and when you think about it in relation to being honest, does he have some things to learn about people? Yeah, and he thinks he wants something, but he has no idea what he doesn't even know what he doesn't know. No idea. Now, there's 6 perspectives around this, and you've taken the 6 perspectives, and so I'm going to give you a refresher real fast. Remember, number 1 is self-mastery. Now, the quick story I tell about self-mastery is that when my son was 7, and he was in Taekwondo, he was a white belt, and then they have all the other belts. Anybody have their kids go through like Taekwondo or something like that? It was super cool. And so we went to his first testing, and so we were in this big room, this big facility, and the kids came out to do their poomsae. which is what basically their thing is called. And so all the white belts come out, and it's kind of cute, right? Like they're falling over, and they're messing up, and all the parents are kind of laughing. You understand if they're 22, it's not cute. Like there's a day, like, you ever see a kid shoot at the wrong hoop in basketball? If they're 5, it's cute. If they're 25, they're a moron. There's a place for t-ball. And some of you have been playing t-ball for too many years. Quit playing t-ball when it comes to your business. It's time to play slow pitch. Then it's time to play a fast pitch. That's okay. Take it in steps. Though I want you to check yourself and go, am I playing t-ball? It's not cute when a 30-year-old's mom comes out and puts the ball on the tee and says, okay, honey. That's cute at 4. It's not cute at 34. That's a problem. Now, in self-mastery, so all these white belts came out, then the other belts came out, then the black belts came out. They're like flying through the air and kicking stuff and having a blast. And then the master comes out, and he was like a 12th degree master. He comes out and does his, and it was cool. And then he addresses the parents, and he says, parents, especially white belt parents, I want you to know that the Poomsae was almost the same as the white belt as it is for my 12th degree. He said the difference is when you watch us do it, it would never look the same. And you have to be bad at it long enough to be great at it, so that nobody would ever think you were bad at it. Now put that one together in your mind. I want you to think of your real estate career like Taekwondo. Maybe I'm the red belt with a black stripe. Maybe I'm the brown belt. That's okay. It's okay. Because sure enough, there's going to be another what? Another test for the next belt. And you go, cool, put this one on. The 20% that matters most. You guys get it. I mean, if you're around KW for 19 minutes, like you hear about the 20%. You get it. You get it. Though the challenge is many of you get it up here in your head and your brain. You don't get it down here in your heart, which is where habits live. And I'll tell you, the longest distance you may travel is from your head to your heart. Your heart is where the habits are. You see, people say, I know what to do, I just need to go and do it. Well, knowing what to do and doing it are two vastly different things. Like everybody in this room knows how to be fit, right? Like y'all know how to be fit. Eat less, move more. Like you know it. Do we all do it? No. Now, the person who knows the most about marriage is on their 7th. Fact. Because they've got experience. So knowing something and doing, you guys know, you know it. You know it. I'll tell you one hack. One hack on the 20%. This is my hack. The expansion group that's in here that, you know, if they talk to me regularly, they hear this. One hack to the 20% is to wake up an hour earlier. If you wake up at 7 right now, start getting up at 6 for a while. If you get up at 6 right now, start getting up at 5 right now. You'll be shocked what that hour buys you. You'll be shocked. And you know what? Even if the first 2 weeks you do it, you go sit on the couch and wonder what you're going to do with the hour. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. And you know, for years I've struggled with this. Anybody in the room a night owl like me naturally? Some people are. Anybody just wake up naturally very early in the day? You're weirdos. And so I've struggled with this. I've done, do we all have our problems though? We've all got our stuff, right? Like for one person it's this, it's one it's that. And if you got curly hair you want straight. Like I get it. Now I've done everything I could think of to do. I've done, I used to pay a VA, a virtual assistant, to call me in the morning and wake me up. Whoa. She'd call me from the Philippines and she would read me a script that I wrote. And it was a great script. It was all affirmations about my life, and it was awesome. And then, oh, don't pretend like you've ever not paid someone to tell you nice things about yourself. You guys get so judgmental. Not above buying friends. Now, so here's what happened. So then I started listening to her and going back to sleep. So then I said, all right, her name, I said, her name is Natalie. I said, Natalie, I need you to call me again until I send you a picture. Like just a picture. And she did that until I started sending her yesterday's picture and going back to sleep. And then I said, I need you to call me until I send you a picture of my coffee pot. Like that's the first place I go in the morning. I don't know about you, I go right to the coffee pot. Like the day has not begun until that thing is going. That's my thing. Now, that was fine until I found myself cheating and sending her yesterday's picture. My moral to the story is, we will find a way to cheat if we need to. Be careful where it's at. There's some things like that that probably won't sink you. It's a funny story. But if it shows up there, where else will it show up? It'll show up where it's a big deal. It'll show up where it will sink you. You know, raising this 15-year-old right now, we're having conversations about choices. And I'm telling him, this choice probably won't sink you. Probably won't sink you. This choice over here, you might live under a bridge. You're not laughing now because it's true. It's fact. So do we apply it to ourselves? Interesting what we'll do for our kids and not for ourselves. Now, what I've come to understand is it does not matter what time I get up. What matters is when I go down. That's been my big aha. And you would think that was simple, though for me it wasn't. For years I just beat myself up over get up earlier, get up earlier, get up earlier. And what I didn't look at was that's hard to do when you go to bed at 1. You can't just get up earlier. Your body has to have some amount, right? And so now my thing today is less about what time I get up. My thing today is what time do I shut down and go to sleep. So my goals are, can I be asleep, in bed, asleep by 10? If I can be in bed asleep at 10, being up at 4:30 or 4:45 is no big deal. I'm fine with that. The problem is if I go to bed at 12:30 or 1, it's 7 or 7:30 when I get up. That's just the case. What I've also learned is the earlier I go to bed, the less sleep I need. I don't know what causes that. There's something there. But anyway, go ahead. Yes, ma'am?
The adrenals. They say if you go to bed anytime after 11, like the adrenals recharge between 11 p.m. And so anytime after 11, it takes more sleep to get that recharge.
There you go. Perfect. I believe you. By the way, did you know that 75% of people believe any statistic if it's explained with passion? You will hit some ceiling of achievement. I don't know where it's at, so we don't talk about it. But I know you've got it and I've got mine. We just don't choose to talk about it. I mean, you think about the story in the MREA book, right? You wouldn't pay me to come to your classroom of your kids and tell them, listen, I know that you had big goals and you want to be an astronaut, and the truth is you might not leave high school without being pregnant.
Oh, goodness.
And I know that you want to do big things, and the truth is, chances are you won't go to college. Even if you do, you won't get a job doing it anyway. By the way, is there truth to the things I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome to Earth.
Right.
Though you would not let me tell your kids that. So be careful what we're telling ourselves. There is a ceiling of achievement, just quit paying attention to it. Number 4 is being learning-based. Now, being learning-based, I always feel like I'm preaching to the choir because if someone's listening to me, they're at some level, what? Learning-based. I've got a hack for you on this. Number 1, I want you to start listening to the interviews that Gary has on Agent Mountain. That's an easy one. How many of you would sit down for 20 minutes with a mega producer and hear what they're doing to win business? Of course you would. Only you're not, because they're all over agentmountain.com and we're not using it. They're 20 or 22 minutes. And by the way, listening to one and hearing what you don't want to do is just as important as listening to one of what you do want to do. Because knowing where you don't want to go can be just as important. By the way, when I was a rafting guide in Alaska, so being a rafting guide, they would always have us point our raft at danger where we didn't want to go so we could what? So we can avoid it. Now in a raft, the backstroke is where all the power is. And so you'd point your raft or your boat at danger and you'd push away from it or pull away from it. Now, number 5 is removing limiting beliefs. There's not a soul in the room who doesn't have them, right? And I'll tell you, my hack to this is quit hanging out with people that have more than me. Quit hanging out with people who have more than I do when it comes to limiting beliefs. I know I've got mine. Gary has his. We all do. Though I always seek out that group who has less than I do, and that's who I spend time around. And then ultimately, you what? You become like them, and you start thinking that way. You start speaking that way. Number 5 is to get accountable. So these are the, you guys have heard the perspectives before. So number 6 is getting accountable. Now the problem with accountability is that we say we want it until we get it. As soon as we get it, we push back on it. Trust me, I know, man. I've got 94 expansion partners, 94. And with 94 partners, one of the number 1 reasons they join us is to have what? Accountability. You know what their number one challenge is? The accountability. It's not the systems that work one day and don't one day. Who cares? That stuff comes and goes, and that stuff eventually fixes itself. The problem is the accountability. I don't want to turn my numbers in. Well, I guess you resigned. And you forgot to tell somebody about it. Like, I'm saying it in jest and fun, though truthfully it's like, what are you doing? You said you wanted this. And I thought, man, if you can't be successful with this, you should just get out. Like, that's my inside talk, and I should be better about not sharing it. Though the truth is, the very thing that you said you wanted, we don't. That's why somebody pays a personal trainer and doesn't show up. What? People do it. Go buy a gym. By the way, you know, gyms are actually based on people not using them.
Exactly, absolutely.
If everybody who bought a membership showed up, you couldn't go. There's no space. That's called January. It's the end of February that you can park in the front again, your locker's open, and your equipment's open. If everybody used the damn thing, the buildings would be so big you couldn't afford to go to the gym. It's based on that. Now, the next is referrals every day. You have to have some system that gains or earns referrals every day. And I don't care where they come from. It could be internet lead gen, it could be database, it could be phone calls. Here's my hack to this if you want to take notes, it's not on the screen. Have a different theme every day. I'm a little bit of a creature that likes spontaneity. I'm a creature that likes things not looking the same. As much as I love models and systems, I like things that are different. I just like different things. You know, like it's been said before that variety is what? The spice of life. I'll tell you, variety is not the spice of life or business completely. And you can take it out of context. So variety is the spice of life. Try going home to your spouse and saying, you know, I read a book and variety is the spice of life. So I've been thinking about our whole matrimony thing, and I'm cool with it. Variety is the spice of life. Like that goes over like a lead balloon, right? Like that's not going to work. So you can't take something out of context and apply it everywhere, but realtors do it every day. So I do like different themes. So in my world, if you want my hack, here's my hack to this. On Monday and Tuesday, my theme is colder, newer business. And the reason it's colder, newer business is I've recharged all weekend, my willpower's higher. I've got more stamina on Monday and Tuesday. Now you already know what I would do on Wednesdays, right? What do I do on Wednesdays? Follow-up. Wednesday's follow-up. If I'm doing cold stuff on Monday and Tuesday, I've got follow-up and I've got last week's stuff, I'm golden. By the way, if I have amazing leads burning down my desk, I call those anyway, right? Like I'm talking about when I don't have someone to respond to and I'm having to create the business, which is for all of us. So Wednesday's follow-up. Thursday's always going to be referrals for me. So Thursday's always warmer, database, people I know, people I've worked with before, and all of a sudden Friday usually takes care of itself. If I do those 4 things, Friday is almost always planned out. And I'm ending the week on what? On a high note. I'm not calling those FSBOs on Friday or those expireds on Friday, because I'm not going to drag into the weekend going, man, that was a rough day. I'm just not. I'm going to end on a high note. You see, we think these things don't matter, and I'm telling you, they matter more than you think. These little things matter, and that's a habit that you can take for years and years and years that actually works. Now, number 3, there's 3 commitments, and these come right out of the one thing. I mean, Chad could teach this right now. The 3 commitments are 1, the path to what? The path to mastery. And it does not say the achievement of mastery. It says the what? The path. The big news about the path to mastery is there isn't any. Like there's no mastery. We look at, so someone emailed me this week and they go, man, Cody, being in 47 cities, you've mastered expansion. You are nuts. I said, no, quite frankly, we don't know anything about what we're doing. I talked to someone the other day who was interviewing our expansion company and somebody else's, and I said, perfect, that's smart. I said, here's what I want you to do. If either of us tell you we have it figured out and we know exactly what we're doing, run. I said, because we're either lying to you, and that's not nice, or we're delusional, and that'd be dumb for you to partner with. We don't know. Are you kidding me? There's not 20 years of empirical data to this. We don't know what we're doing. Are we doing some things right? Sure, of course. We don't know what we're doing. Now, number 2, move. Yeah, that feels amazing. Move from E to P. We drew it out. Move from E to P. Number 3 is the accountability cycle. Get okay with this cycle. Now, the cycle could look a little bit like this. Something happens. What'd you feel about it? Or how did it feel? What'd you learn? Knowing what you know, what would you do different? Then over here, is there anything you're missing? Something you don't know? A system, a tool, a model, a script? Great. Is there anything that you don't know? What's the new commitment? And you go do it again. And that's the accountability cycle, the accountability wheel. And what's great about that is that if it takes more than 10 or 12 minutes, it's called therapy. Accountability should be 10 or 12 minutes. If it takes over 10 or 12 minutes, number one, it's not, I mean, an accountability convo for 60 minutes is not fun. 10, 12 minutes, move in and move out. If you have a half-hour call, spend the next 15 minutes chatting about ideas or strategy or what to do. The accountability piece, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and you're done so. For a long time, I used an egg timer, and I would just put the egg timer on 8 minutes and say, when this thing dings, we can't talk anymore. Not because I don't want to, because I don't want to waste your time. We can spend the next 15 minutes talking about ideas or strategies. Accountability, though, what'd you do? You guys get my point. It's fast and furious. It's quick. Now, there's 4 thieves to this. If you're not careful, there's 4 thieves. And again, the 4 thieves are, number one, right out of the one thing, the inability to say no. But they can't say no to things. Remember, when you say no to something, you're saying yes to something. When you say no to lead gen, you're saying yes to failure in your business. It works for good stuff and bad stuff. Number 2 is the fear of what? Chaos. We talked about that earlier. Number 3 is poor health habits. These health habits play a bigger role than we want them to. I get it. I'm with you. I'm with you. I wish I could eat like garbage and feel amazing. I wish I could. I like eating like garbage. I enjoy that. I went to a wedding this weekend. It was in the South. They had amazing Southern wedding food. They had a conveyor belt with grits. Like they had a buffet table with grits and shrimp. Basically it was butter and sausage. And that was butter. It was amazing. And when you got all that put together, you put cheese on it. Oh, gosh. Are you kidding me? I love that. There's a 90-10 rule to that too. Number 4 is the environment. Does your environment support your goals? And you know, I have a picture of trees here because I use trees for a reason. Side story, whenever I build these presentations, there's a lot of things I'll leverage out. I don't leverage out the graphics. And the reason is I want to pick graphics that tell a story more than the words. You know, a tree, how tall does a tree grow? Well, you know, a tree grows as tall as it can. A tree doesn't have the ability to think, oh, I shouldn't grow anymore. Taller than the tree next to me. Don't want to make that tree feel bad. No, man. My whole life as a tree, my only job is to grow. You see, it's only human beings that have the ability to hold themselves back. Nothing else in our nature holds itself back. Every tree grows as far as it can. Every flower blooms as big as it can. Every animal does what it can do as much as it can. It's only human beings that make conscious choice to hold ourselves back. And you know, that conscious choice is also the most beautiful part about being a human being. That freedom of will, I get it. Just don't think things don't cut both ways. Everything does. For every pro, there's a con. Now, the internet is king to this. Your big piece to doubling your business in 1 year, there's lots of options and systems and models, and all of that is good. If you're doing it without the internet, that's going to be a challenge. The web is your friend to this, because there's leverage in it. And by the way, where is all of your buyers and sellers at? Where are all of your buyers and sellers? They are all where? Online. Where are you when you're interested in something? Online. It's the way it works, man. It's just the way it is. Now, calls. Calls will be important. We have to make them. Now, if you're willing to make them, I'd rather take somebody who will make their calls and be terrible at it than somebody who will wait till they're good at it. I'll take somebody terrible because we can make them better from there. Again, it's kind of like you don't have to be great to start, you got to start to be great. Now, your sphere of influence. Your sphere of influence is not your ticket to doubling your business in 1 year. It's not. Is it a bad choice? No, it's a great choice. It's not the ticket to doubling in 1 year. It could be the ticket to doubling in 5 though, but you didn't take that class. You wanted the one that was 1 year, not the 5-year train. So the sphere of influence is not the 1 year train. You can't count on it that well. Unless your database is 75,000 people and they all want to buy. I mean, you get my point to this. What if you call them all and they don't want to buy or sell? Guess what you're not doing? You're not doubling. Now, sphere is important. It's not vital. I'd write this down. You maintain a business talking to people that you already know. You build a business talking to those that you don't. You maintain a business talking to people that you know. That's awesome. Good. Do it, do it, do it. You build a business talking to those that you don't. And by the way, is there 50 different ways to talk to people that you don't know? Sure. I keep beating the drum of FSBOs and expireds only because it's the one word that gets everybody's attention. I don't care if it's FSBOs and expireds. It's gonna be people that logged in onto your site to find out how much your home is worth, or to look at homes like a voyeur. That's okay. Perfect. People you don't know. Now, FSBO. You have to work FSBOs. I don't think you have to be successful, though I question why you wouldn't. Question why you wouldn't. Now, expires, same thing. I question why you wouldn't work expires. By the way, are they different? It's the reason I chose this graphic. They are dealt with differently. They're thrown in the same bucket, which I think has always been a mistake to our industry. Because we always say FSBOs and expires. Ah, man, they couldn't be more different than each other. They are totally different animals. We just throw them in the same boat. That's like hunting moose and bears. They're totally different. Mooses and bears. You guys. Now, geese. Now, you also have sign calls. Sign calls are king here, and I talked about this in 7 steps a little bit, so I'm not going to go back and rehash it. Though they are king, you have to make them happen. These are the cities that we sell in, and the agent interview and the seller survey is also available at doubleyourbusinessblog.wordpress.com. You guys have it from the 7stepsdownloads.com. You already have it from there, though if you didn't write it down, you can go to doubleyourbusinessblog.wordpress.com and you can get it there. So, in closing from this, move into our 3rd section for the day. What ahas have you had, or what have you heard?
AgentMountain.com.
AgentMountain.com, great. That's like Gary Teller's private website. You'll find mega agents interviewed there. It was awesome. They were slow one week and couldn't find somebody, so you'll find mine on there. Yes, sir?
I thought it was kind of interesting the way that you talk almost comically about when you kind of cheat a little bit on a goal that you've set for yourself. I think sometimes when we set a goal, or I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. and then I don't do it, I think we beat each other up more than, you know, and you sat there kind of joking about how you cheated and so you made her do something different and then you cheated. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
I know I'm a cheater. Like, I'm a cheater because I'm a human being. And there's not a one of us in here that doesn't somewhere. Like, we just do. We color outside the lines. I was going through this with another mega on the East Coast, James Nellis, good guy. And every day, James and I would email each other or call each other in the morning. And any day that we weren't up by a certain time, we had to donate $100 to the candidate we didn't want to win the last election. And there were some days I sent my $100 in. I just sent it to both. Though there were days I had to send in my $100. I didn't like that. What else? Yes, sir.
Would you explain to me limiting beliefs real quick, just because I didn't really understand what you meant by...
I'll give you a 1 minute version. Here's the easiest way to see limiting beliefs, and it's a long conversation. In limiting beliefs, have you ever gone to the beach and worn a pair of sunglasses? Mm-hmm. And they're tinted a certain color, right? Let's say you have some blue ones on. The whole world looks what to you? The whole world looks blue. Like everyone's a little smirky. The whole world is kind of blue. So you take those glasses off and everything looks what?
Clear.
Completely different. You put some green ones on, now everything's green. What you have is you have a belief lens. And everybody in this room looks at life through a belief lens. Now, I was raised by 2 hippies. So the 2 hippies that raised me, our family business was growing pot. That was the family business. At 10 years old, my parents moved to Alaska. At 12, I found them. Now, they moved a lot when I was growing up. I always found them. Though at 10 years old, the family business was getting busted. Now, when I was a little it's taking years not to run when I hear that. For the longest time, I would just run. I'd be this is supposed to involve progress. We've grown.
I tried so hard.
Oh, the family business was legal. Back before it was legal. Now in Oregon, it's legal, so now it's good. Though at the time in California, it was illegal. And Dad was getting popped, you know, in our little ring of growers, because no one grows alone, really. I mean, as a little kid, my job was sweeping up tracks. So we had these not farming roads, like old Forest Service roads. And we would have pot patches on these old Forest Service roads, and you would never have more than 8 or 10 plants in a patch in case someone got your patch. You want to take your whole harvest. And so Dad had this big truck with like a waterbed bladder in the back and a camper shell and these hoses. So we'd go to our patches to water our plants, and my brother and I had like brooms and sticks, you know, like bushes, branches would be better. And we were walking back to the car. Our job was to do this to cover up our tracks, because people would drive these old roads knowing there was pot everywhere and look for tracks off the side of the road, because no one just gets off the road and starts walking unless they're going somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And so my belief system around money was a very special way. Number one, it probably came illegally. Number two, we couldn't talk about it. So when I went to school, and by the way, we belonged to a country club, because Dad made pretty good money. He was good at the family biz. Though he had told everybody that he was a trust fund baby. Well, back in the 1980s, that made sense, and nobody really checked, nobody really cared. Just go, oh, okay, you're a trust fund baby. Well, we couldn't talk about what we did. In fact, in the spring every year, my bedroom got converted to where we started all the plants. So my brother and I would share rooms. Then in the summer, when they would go out and be transplanted, I got my room back. And my friends would come over and ask what all these long fluorescent lights were doing in my room. So I had some limiting beliefs as it related to money. Like, I'm not sure that I never saw my dad in a tie, never once. And if my parents saw me dressed in a suit and tie, they'd probably just, like, my dad would roll over in his grave. Though it's just, I had a belief around money. What I want you to take from this is, we all have a belief lens. Try taking those glasses off once in a while and looking through a different one. Some limit you and some are unlimited. What else have you heard today? Besides the fact that I grew up around a bunch of pot.
The buyer's sign that you suggested. Because I usually like door knock, like when I get my buyers into a home, I'll door knock the neighborhood, but them having a sign in their yard and putting that in the buyer brokerage agreement, great idea.
Door knocking alone is for uncreative people. Let me say that again. Door knocking alone is for uncreative people. I think it's cheap. I think it's cheating. It drives me nuts when someone goes, well, I'll help you with your business and you should just go door knock. What? You can't give me a better idea than that? Come on, man. Now, if you have an impetus to go and door knock around something or a reason for it, or you put up that buyer sign and you call and then you knock, like, I'm okay with that. Though just knocking on doors, that's not what you're talking about. Just knocking on doors just to go make contacts, though, I think that's such a low level in our business. And I think you can beat the pants off of that. Now, the industry is happy to say, oh, just go door knock, because it's an easy what? It's an easy answer. You might do it, you might not do it, it's free. And by the way, if you do it, you will stumble into a sale. And if you stumble into a sale, you might keep doing it. Our industry is really, really good at keeping our people at 8 or 10 units a year. And to a degree, the brokerages, not KW, though the brokerages at whole, that's where they'd like agents to be. Because there's control there. Be careful with that. I don't like the door knocking thing. And you can do it if there's reasons for it. I know that's what you're talking about. Though just be cautious. Don't go, I'll just go door knock if I have to. Oh man, you don't have to. There's 100 ways to get around that. What else have you heard today?
Be aware of distractions.
Be aware of distractions, I like that.
Virtual assistants, what assistant service do you use that charges $6 an hour?
I hire them direct. So myoutdesk.com starts at about $9 or $10 an hour, and they're fine. I've got people at MyOutDesk, it's MOD is what we call it. Though they're the exact same VAs, only there's an intermediary between that takes care of the payment. That's really the only difference. They tell you they're trained, they're really not.
So you find your guy, then you negotiate a direct.
And I still use MOD sometimes too, so it's not bad. Though I do like finding them myself. So I like going to onlinejobs.ph, that's a great one. Another one I'll think of before I'm done today, I'll think of the second one.
Best jobs Philippines.
Nah, it's not that one though. It's it starts, the V is in there somewhere. I also use Fiverr quite a bit. I like Fiverr. Fiverr's more quick contract. I just need this one thing done, and almost all of it's $5 or $10. I had a logo built for $15 that I would have spent $600 on. So Fiverr's awesome. Just little short things. Like those you ever see those whiteboard creations? That someone's speaking and there's a whiteboard that's drawing out and it's kind of cool and catchy and it was really cool in the mid-2000s and now they're stupid. Though with the whiteboards, I had those built out for $20 and $25. Would have taken us thousands. I mean, in fact, a company quoted me $11,000 to do it. Got it on a Fiverr for $25.
What is it, Fiverr?
Fiverr, F-I-V-E-R-R. Fiverr. What else have you heard today? Yes, ma'am?
My favorite is to think like a tree and that you can only grow. I love that.
Yeah, I do too. You know, when I heard that, I thought, what an amazing analogy. All I can do is grow. All I can do is grow and win and get better. Anything else? In closing, anything else?
I mean, to add on what she said, you know, you look at someone and, you know, don't stop growing because they're not growing. You know, you feel like you're going to make someone feel bad about themselves.
Sure, yeah. I mean, quite frankly, we're more scared of our success than our failure. I've made peace with that. I believe in that. We're more scared of that than we are of failure. And the other piece that I've had to make peace with is that it's not going to be easy. It'll be harder than I want it to be. It'll take longer than I want it to. It'll cost more money, and it might be a lonely road. And what I want to leave you with before we take a break, we're going to take a break. It's 2:15. When we come back, are you okay if I share with you something I've only taught once live?
Yes.
Okay, so I've done this via webinar, and I've done this, well, really, I've only done it for our expansion group now that I think about it. I taught it once in Sacramento to a group and our expansion group, so I'd like to teach it here today. It's called the 51 list. And it's something that I built on my couch. I was laying on my couch, and I built out the 51 list, and it's very, very fast, like a fire hydrant of 51 ideas, tactics, things that some you're already doing, some you haven't been doing, some you'd like to do, and some you've never thought about doing. So it's just very quick, 51 things. That's a nice way to end the day, so it's fast and upbeat. Are you okay if we share that?
Yes.
So you'll get it, nobody else will have it. Now, the 7 steps and the double your business, we don't hand those out, though the 51 list, I'll give you a download link at the end, because we cruise through it so quick that you can download the 51 list. Now, the last thing I'm going to leave you with before we take our break is I want you to have a 15th protocol. Now, our expansion partners know what I'm talking about. A 15th protocol is halfway through the month is about the what of the month? About the 15th. Now, if you're playing a football game and you're the Falcons, so there's a good chance you're down at halftime. And you go into halftime, and like that coach just has to know, like, here's my halftime pep talk. It's the same every time. Now, if you're down at halftime, what does the coach say in the locker room? Nobody says, well, we're getting our you know what's handed to ourselves and just keep at it. You know, we got 8 more games. We never go to the playoffs. It's okay. Like, no coach says that. Every coach at halftime has the reset button. You know what? They're killing us on the run. We got to fill this. They're doing this. We've got to catch up. I mean, every coach. It was Lou Holtz that said this. It's what you do in the second half of the game that determines whether you're a winner or a loser at the end of the game.
Yes.
The first half will lend itself. So historically, if you're up at halftime, you'll beat the Falcons at the end of the game too. So historically, if you're leading at halftime, you'll win the game, but it's not every time. It's not. And so the first half will lend itself, but what you do in the second half is actually what dictates it. I mean, like, you watch the Super Bowl, that's a great depiction of that, all the way to the end. And what I love about those stories, and I don't give a rip about the Patriots, though what I love about those stories is they never think they're losing. Did you see the movie or watch the movie or see the book The Lone Survivor? Chad, did you see that movie?
Oh, yes.
Did you read the book? The movie was really, really good. The book was really good. I read the book as a leadership demonstration. It's a great leadership book. In Lone Survivor, it was about the Navy SEALs, and the whole platoon got killed, except for one certain, like the title gives it away. Like, you know what's going to happen. Now, there was a time in my life that I was becoming a Navy SEAL, and I'd been accepted into the SEAL training program. It took me 2 years to get into it, and when I finally went to go, they found that my eyes were color deficient. Some call it colorblind. That's not nice. They're just deficient. And what I said was, well, what's the problem? And they said, well, the problem is if we say cut the blue wire and you cut the wrong one, that's a problem. I said, shoot, that's a great point. You know, a year later, though, now I had spent 5 years, search and rescue team, rescue diver. I rode the ambulance as a paramedic for a while. I mean, I spent my whole late teen years working and doing this with the goal of being a SEAL. Like, that was all I wanted to do, and then that was gone, and you're like, well, now what am I going to do? Now, a year later, the SEALs called and said, Cody, we've lifted the ban, and you can now use color corrective lenses. So we'll let you come back in. We'll still honor the deal that we gave you. Well, at that point, I was making close to $100 grand a year, and I said, no way. A third of the money, and you're going to shoot at me. I don't even know what I was thinking. It's a young man's game. I don't even know what I was thinking. Though in the movie and the book, they made such a great point, because the whole time, if you remember the movie, chat, they're falling down that giant mountain, and the whole time they're fighting back. The whole time they're winning in their mind. And there's just hundreds of Taliban on the top of this cliff. And they're just coming down in swarms, and they fight to the bitter end. They never, and Marcus, I forget his last name. Luttrell. Marcus Luttrell in the book said what was interesting was we never once thought we were going to lose that day. He said we did. We lost our tails. We just lost. We lost our lives. He said, but you never could have convinced us that we were losing. Down to 3 guys, we got them. We're the best fighters on earth. We got them. There's only 600 of them. We're okay. Do you have that resourcefulness available to you? Are you willing to believe that you can't lose? Now, can you? Of course you can. That's like saying divorce isn't an option. Dude, go to the courthouse. Somebody took the option today. And I'm cool if you say failure's not an option. I just think you're a little delusional. Failure's an option. You might say it's an option you're unwilling to take. Now that, I'm tracking with you. Though it's an option. Are you willing to believe that you will not lose? I love that story because at the very bitter end, they fought and fought and fought. They never said, well, this is it, guys. Never once. Always scheming to the bitter end. We're going to do this and we'll get out of here. We'll do this and we'll get out of here. We're not getting out of here. Never happened. Such a great book, great movie for that message. So it's 2:21. Can we take about a 10-minute break? Is that enough? Sure. Use the restroom, grab some refreshments or whatever. So we'll start the 51 list at 32 after, so 10 minutes. We'll see you then.
Drinks at the back that showed up late from lunch.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, when you're calling our names, I mean, you gotta have a face, right?
Well, you see pictures, but it's never the same, right? Like, it's not.
My pictures are totally accurate. I don't know
No,
what
I
you're
mean,
talking about.
I get it. No, I don't mean like a glamour pic. I mean like you get the mannerisms of somebody else.
Oh, of course, there's no way I was gonna miss it. I was joking with her, I was gonna wear my blue jacket, but everything's in boxes because I'm moving. That's why I said, I almost wore the exact same thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad I did it.
Good mind.
Exactly. Thank you.
See you guys.
Pleasure meeting you. Sure, we'll talk to you soon. At least we'll hear you on Friday.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you did.
Yes, that's awesome. Very, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I got to go to a funeral. Thank you. All right.
Did you No, I didn't. So I'm going to try to
Katie, this is Courtney Phillips.
Hi, Courtney, how are you?
She's on your team.
Nice to meet you. That was got the face of the name. Yeah, now I get it.
So she missed the mastermind this morning. She said we need to meet him. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Oh, you're right here in the office. Okay, good. Yeah, the first 10 or 15 people I was able to remember and know.
just recently. Nice. Good. What should we do with this?
I actually am still in it, so she put a bit, I told her to later take out the schedule.
Nice.
She called me the other day, she said, hey, I got this comment. Catch back up. I think they have to be more leaders, like they should.
Yeah. Great. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually I'm working with Stacy, and get a bunch of stuff, so he kind of gave me how to, because there's 200 condos, like, in this, and so a coworker wants to see all of them, because right now the homeowners associations are so pricey. So, yeah, so he said that we could work on it together, since he's with the regional.
You have what you need?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Everything okay on your end?
Yeah, it's good.
Perfect. So we'll end today about, so nice to meet you. We'll end today about 3:30, is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, we had said 4:30, so you take your time.
Great, good.
Good.
I didn't realize there was a short here.
What time do you fly out?
I will do that. So
Okay, yeah, you need to leave here.
Here in Century, yeah.
It's raining and traffic's
syndicated anymore.
I have to get the out there.
Cool.
So I just didn't realize I just did that.
Yeah.
There is no turnout.
What are you here, 15 miles?
Yeah, about, did you go into town?
I know.
You never know.
It's like 15 miles in LA to be an hour.
Exactly. Exactly. Cool.
Thanks for having me out there.
Oh, dude. Like, I'm taking pages of notes back here. We're sitting in Shadow Way. Things of the down. Yeah, 9 behind. What's that mean?
The 9 is the 9 wins MRE. You've seen how
well, so
if I go
for
through
us,
I go, what are the 9 ways of being competitive, being strategic, being customer service, all those things.
so Steve Sleuter came and told Bold, and he's in the financial firm. So he was saying, like, there's a group of people who he knows inside the that literally have 9 zeros, 8 zeros behind whatever they're making. And so that thing 9 became a logo for us. We started thinking about our expansion guys. We started thinking about what you guys are going to be doing in 5 or 10 years. Dude, it's legit.
Quickly respond. What's the thought you can? Okay. Alright, I'll be in touch. Talk to you soon.
I think, you fast forward 10 years, I'm working with gotta be some story. Yeah, had a little bit of a conversation with him behind the scenes. Houston.
You ladies are doing a picture time, okay? You ever take a picture, guys? Cody?
If you're in 80% of the markets,
Cody, pose for a picture while you're talking to John.
dude, that's 560.
This is the Tuscaloosa's only
Well,
one.
John, I think you're still like John in it, or we're taking it out.
No, they want, it's UHG Tuscaloosa.
Look it out, John.
This is your Roll Tide team.
That's right.
One more, hang on. There you go.
Thank you, guys.
160 million a year.
I forgot you guys went to a wedding. Did you go?
I didn't go. No,
It was team leader of the Stadium Hills, right?
she used to be
Is she from Alaska? Yeah.
team leader in Alaska, so Cody taught her. She replaced Cody. That's why he said he's only because he flew down for the wedding. And John was smart enough to say, well, we're in the southeast, how do I get to the... You're going to want to fly out of Atlanta anyway, so if you drive north and fly out of Atlanta, then we'll say...
Hey, I've got a title company that I use a lot. They've been pretty good about working with like the club and stuff like that. And I know she had team leader. Is there any sort of system you would need? I like their business model, but I don't really know. Is that someone you want to talk to? Is there any services they can help with? Yeah, if we do an event.
Everybody's working in team sponsored here. That's gonna go back out.
How much does it cost for you to do a weekend event? And I know typically it's 30 people out of
I charge $1,500 deposit and then $1 year so I mean, if they want to put together,
She ran 160 positions. Well, she could do it any time. Oh, they don't? Yeah, because they don't want to burn away.
So when he's talking about, I'm big on obviously getting the rest and like really making sense.
Well, I'm a calorie.
Yeah, so I get it.
I mean, I may not be able to run 26 miles, but I can run for 70 minutes.
Yeah,
The answer is not I mean, I've heard this database where it's showing you putting a tag. Yeah, but I mean, if I'm going to spend resources just to go through source, and you've got to get to the habit of asking people to have you here, have you here, have you here, nothing is relying on statistics. Oh yeah, friends will get part. Really, they call you
What is sell-off?
get a friend intel on you guys. Those most recent. Or they hear the radio and they tell you, I called you from the radio now, and you've been mailing and mailing cards every week. So at that point, it's just pseudo-knowledge that you're saying. And I know there's some databases like the database I use with you could get unlimited numbers, right? Call tracking numbers. So you could have just a lot of these tags. So at that point, you have 9 business numbers. It's kind of like, and then you can have yeah. Just put a source in your mouth and start asking everybody. Keep track of it. I hate it's like poker playing, right? I mean, if you walk into Target today, these parents go to people when you're able to cheat any brand, you don't like it. Coke doesn't truly know because it knows their Coke doesn't truly know the Coke doesn't know because they have a display in Target and they can see the center and they know reasonably to try back to the why you like it. So that comes down to that one thing, right? Which is like, if I'm going to increase if I do
Today's my first day. He's gonna knock it out. He's gonna knock it out as best you can. Thanks, Dad.
For a long time, making good money. Yeah. Over nursing outside of the money. Right, have to. It's just not basic. List your voice. I'm on here. Now it's just right. Whatever. Just too committed. I know that guy. Yeah. The only test out here is right? So when I'm running the market, I don't have caps. Sure, you have to set quotas, but you know, once you're running, you're earning receipts. And actually pull you back. Right. Yes. Just give you some quotas for less. We're going to pay you less for each one. Right. Just do it right now. What we're going to do. Yeah, it is. It did. Make it
There needs to be chaos.
You know
something's
Just so you know, half of our team left. Because you've done the 51 list, so they were like, I'm getting into traffic. I'm leaving when I said and remember, you've got an out the door at 4. Yeah, okay. I'm good. All right, here we go. All right, let's begin. 1, 2, 3. All right, so this one I've delivered to our expansion partners. I've done it once live, so it's been the second time it's ever been done live. So 51 list is designed to be super fast. So number 1, I want you to have set hours. I want you to come to work at a certain time, leave work at a certain time. If you could even work in a certain type of lunch hour or a lunchtime, I want you to have a lunchtime. And the reason for this, how long has this worked in corporate America? Forever. Since the beginning of all time. So who says it wouldn't work in real estate? In fact, your brain looks for patterns and repetition. Let it have some repetition here. I was overhearing 2 agents talk the other day, and one said, well, what time do you come to work? And the one answering said, well, you know, I usually come in at 9, but if I had showings the night before and I was out late, I come in at like 10:30. But if I don't have appointments till 11, some days I come in at 11. But what does the brain know about this? I got no idea what's happening day to day. I got nothing to count on. So I want you to have set hours. Just try it. If you have set hours for a year, you'll never not have set hours. By the way, if you have set hours in a job, do you ever work outside those hours? Say yes. Yes. Sure, man. There's an extra thing going on, or it's important, or there's a certain grind for a month. That's okay. You're going to work outside the lines, have set hours. Your brain needs it. Number 2, I want you to take 1 full weekend day off. I understand that we work weekends. I get it, and I don't think you have to. And I think if we're diligent enough, bless you, during the week, then we can take that time off on the weekend. Now, if you choose to not take off both days, I chose to take off both days a long time ago. Now, what that meant was there were some sales I couldn't make. There were some people I couldn't work with. Now, when I said take the weekend off, I did look at a listing I went and had signed at 2 o'clock on Saturday for 45 minutes is working. Fair? Like, that was how I dealt with that. You got to have your own boundaries. For me, a quick appointment that I'd already talked with 4 times, they just couldn't meet till Saturday at 2. I could hang out with the kids, zip over, take the appointment, and zip back. Like in my world, if it was less than 90 minutes, I was cool with that. Though that was on the heels of working many, many years, all day Saturday, 2/3 of a day Sunday. So 90 minutes on Saturday was nothing, right? So you take that for what you want. Then it became, well, I would do a phone call on Saturday, but no meetings on Saturday. By the way, the better the lead gen, the more the options. If you're broke, you don't work that way. You do whatever you gotta do when you gotta do it. I mean, I'd work 4 jobs if I have to. I'm okay with that. I ain't living broke. Let me say that again. I ain't living broke. I've got some in our organization right now that I need to get out of our organization because for 7 months he's been willing to live without money. And I called him and I said, my problem with you is you don't have any standards for yourself. What? And I said, yeah, you've been broke for 7 months. At what point do you fix that? I said, you ought to have 2 jobs right now, stocking shelves. Like, I won't live without money. And you're showing me that you will. We're no longer a fit. Number 3, iPad rule at home. I want you to start protecting this time at home. And by the way, if you work off an iPad, do you have some restrictions of what you can and can't do?
Yes.
Yeah, iPads can only do so much. And so a long time ago, a friend of mine said, Cody, if you don't work on your laptop at home, you won't do any big projects at home. And I went, gosh, that's really profound. Like this, I never thought of it that way. It was profound. And so today, I practice the iPad rule. If it can't be done on an iPad, I don't need to be doing it at home. So check out the iPad rule at home. Number 4, bunkers and sand shots. Does anybody play golf in the room? Yeah, and golf is the best way to ruin a good walk. Now, with golf, even if you're not very good, do you hit a good shot once in a while? Yes. And I swear to you, it's like from the golf gods. I think the course does it somehow if they could. It's just enough to keep you what?
Coming back.
Yep, just enough to come back. I have a terrible round.
It's always on the 18th hole.
Yeah, and I talk about that one good shot or that one good hole. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna, you know, whatever. Now, if you're playing golf, will you eventually end up in bunkers?
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. Now, I'm a mid-80s to high 80s guy on good days. And occasionally I'll go hit 95 and go, what? Well, 86, 89, 88, like that's common. Though, no matter how good you are, now the pros also hit the sand. The challenge is sometimes they do it on purpose. You're like, damn it. Though if they do it on accident, the whole thing about sand or coming out of the sand is to save what? Par. Save par. When I hit the sand, I'm like, shoot. Like I start thinking save bogey, right? All right, let's just not let the wheels fall off here. Let's just retain some pride. Though if you're going to play at a professional level, which I don't play golf at a pro level, though I do play real estate at a pro level. So when I hit the sand in real estate, I go, how do I save par? I still expect to hit a good shot. I expect it. So when you hit the bunkers in your own business, I want you to think about that and expect something good. You better be good enough. Well, that's a problem. So what was on that? Taxes, whoops. So when we converted this to the computer, it might have cut one. So if it cuts any more, we'll switch it back over to my laptop and we'll do it off of mine. So taxes, I already talked about paying taxes what? Quarterly, though I said to pay them quarterly, start paying them what? Monthly. Pay them monthly. I couldn't trust myself to pay quarterly because the numbers were too high. When the numbers got high enough, what I did was I robbed it. So I paid monthly. You know, for a while when it was really bad for me, I paid daily. Transactionally. Like when I had a transaction, I shipped them the money. Like it was bad for me for a while. Maybe you never got that bad. I did. And I had to control myself. Now, number 7 is I want you to hire an attorney on retainer. Now I want you to go and hire an attorney, pay him $500, $300. Retainers are not expensive. The reason there is no number 6 is it came out.
Okay, thanks.
Now, you're not nuts.
Okay, I was like,
You see it happen, you're like, I'm nuts. I've lost it. I've lost it. No, there's no number 6. Let's skip right over it. Now, number 7, hire an attorney on. There's no number 5. Number 5. 6 was the taxes. Now, hire an attorney on retainer. And the reason I want you to do it, I hope you never have to use your attorney. Though businesses have what? Litigation. Businesses have attorneys because they might have litigation. I'm telling you, just test me on this. Go sit down with an attorney, pay him a $500 retainer, and as you're walking out of their office, tell me that you don't feel like more of a business. This is a feeling issue. Just like when you walk out of the bank having opened a business account, you feel a little more like a business. When you receive your LLC docs in the mail, when you have 9, you throw it in a stack. When you have 1, you're like, whoa, I got an LLC here. And that's not wrong, that's good. So go hire an attorney on retainer. Number 8, yeah. I'm gonna throw this on my own computer real fast. I don't want you guys to miss this. John, do you know what button I need to switch back to my computer down below here?
Figure it out, or get Bailey.
I saw that whole thing happening when he was walking out here doing the U-turn. It's like, I don't know why you're wasting your time.
What's this called? 51 what?
This is the 51 list, and we moved it from a Mac to this computer, which is fine, though it changed the formatting from being on a Mac to a PC.
Let's thank Bailey.
Awesome. Thank you, Bailey.
yay, baby.
Now that's maybe the fastest you can deal with a tech problem.
You need a Bailey in your life.
I do need Bailey in my life. You said Bailey, not Bailey, right?
Bailey. Bailey.
Bailey.
Yeah, Bailey does well. Yeah, it's a good theory.
We may need your bag.
What do you need?
Oh, the rule of accounts and roll. Yeah. So the rule of accounts and rolls. Hang on, maybe. Hang on. Let me see what happens here. I think it's just giving me grief because we've gone back and forth so many times.
Oh, unplug this.
Oh yeah. All right. Perfect. Thank you. Ah, nice. Thank you. Don't go far. The rule of accounts and roles. So remember when I talked about paying yourself in specific roles? That's what I meant by the rule of accounts and roles. So I think you ought to pay yourself that way. If it's 2 or 3 times, that's okay. By the way, as an owner, how often does an owner pay themselves?
Once everybody else has been paid.
Yeah, one, when everybody else has been paid. Owners take a loan to make payroll. That's reality sometimes. They come out of pocket to make payroll. Most owners for a typical business will pay themselves quarterly at best. So what if on the ownership side, now I understand if you're on your first few deals you won't treat it this way, that's okay with me. Though at some point, what if you only let yourself get paid quarterly? Would you treat the business differently? My point is when you respect it like a business, you'll treat it like one, and when you treat it like one, it will treat you like one. And that does take some time sometimes. Now, quarterly taxes, we dealt with that, hire an attorney on retainer. And number 8, come to work at the same time daily. Now, one is to have set hours. The other is I'd rather you start work the same time every day, no matter what. If you can't keep set hours, start work the same time. Whether that's 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 8:15, 9, I guess. I think that's pushing it. Remember, when do most realtors start working? 10, 10:30, like that's when they start. Just watch. When does your phone start ringing from other realtors? 10 o'clock, man. 10 o'clock. So I think earlier is better with this. So same time daily. Number 9, know your contacts every day. There's not a ton of numbers that you have to know. There's a few numbers I think you should never be away from. Now for a business person, not knowing their numbers is kind of like a brand new mom with a new baby, not knowing where her baby is. Like, I got one, just not sure where it's at right now. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? That's ridiculous. So as a business though, think back to sports. We've kind of talked about sports a few times today. Do those guys and gals know their numbers?
Yep.
Does anybody need to go to Brady and say, okay, how many touchdowns do you have? No, he knows. He knows. He'll look up what he doesn't know. There's a handful of things he can't forget. So I'd ask this question, it's already May, how many listing appointments this year? How many have you signed? What if you always know exactly how many for the year? What if you know your career? The thing about athletes is they know their career stats too. They go, I got X number of career wins. What if you knew X number of career listings? You see, when you act like an athlete, I think you're gonna play like one. This was an aha for me when Charlie back in our hub said one day that was my 247th career listing. And I said, what? He goes, yeah, of course I count them. And I went, of course you do. That's why you can be terrible at real estate and still list many homes. If you meet him, he's pretty terrible at it. He is. So I say that story with love because he still kicks most people's butts because he is terrible at it. And he can't rely. He's not a very good speaker. He's not great with people. Just honestly, he's my triathlon partner, so we train a lot. I know how bad he is. I say it with love. At family reunion, I taught a class to 12 or 1,400 people in the room, and I had him teach it with me, and his knees were he was sweating and scared. And I had him do it, and I had him do some scripts and dialogues, because I wanted the room to sit there and go, are you kidding me right now? That guy will list 10 homes in a month. I can do this. I'm fine with that. And what I love about him is so is he. Now he's been a listing agent for 3 years. In our group meeting the other day, he goes, I got a blah, blah, blah under contract, my first buyer ever. He's working his first buyer on month 38 or 39.
That's awesome.
And he called me and goes, man, buyers suck. Actually, he called and said, buyers are easy. I don't know why I haven't been working buyers. Have fun with it. Now, number 10, end every call with here's what happens next. You know, I took this from Bold. We teach this in Bold. Everything ends with here's what happens next. Here's what you can expect next. Now, in our hub back in Portland, what we did years ago was we went to the bank and got $500 bills. And we taped them everywhere around the office, on the phone, on the ceiling, on the computers, everywhere. And every time an agent said, here's what happens next, they just grabbed a buck. And it was fun. It was a cool little game. What do you think was happening? What was happening naturally 2 months later? The dollar bills were gone, and we had a couple of new agents who had never seen the dollar bills, and what were they saying? Here's what happens next. And I'm just sitting there going, wow, what an aha. Now, here's what happens next because of fear of loss. You ever go to like Six Flags or a big amusement park like that? So I went to Six Flags Magic Mountain in California, and did I drive by one between Birmingham and here? Did I see that? Okay, yeah. So there's crazy people here. And so on those, like those rides are nuts. Like you're hanging on one, you're looking at it going, if this one little bar the size of my finger breaks, you'll never see me again. Like I'm gone. Though as you get closer to the ride, what do they have? They have signs telling you what to expect. If it's a really scary ride, they have a video telling you here's what to expect next. They have the seat so you can see it, all so you can be what? Prepared. So that you don't get scared. So that you don't get scared and get up there and go, whoa, I'm out. Take a lesson from that. Because your buyers and sellers, they're hopping on a roller coaster with you. Here's what happens next. Here's what happens next. Disney, here's what happens next. They're so good at this because they don't have time to waste on scared people. So you don't have time to waste on scared people. Keep them from being scared.
And they want you to come back again.
And they want you to come back. Yeah, it's not good for business if they're scared. Number 11, add 2 new contacts to your database daily. So we call it the database 2. Do the 2. Add 2 people a day. And by the way, 2 a day, could you find 2 people today? Say yes. Yes. Could you find 2 tomorrow? Yes. Yeah. You find 1 at Starbucks and 1 somewhere else. So what? Eventually you'll find better people. Though if you added 2 per day forever, what would eventually happen? You only need 1,000 business days to build 2,000 people in a database, which is the MREA average for somebody earning $1 million. So 1,000 business days at 2 per day, 1,000 business days is about how many years? Well, you don't work 365 days, so you take weekends off, it's about 5 years. 4 to 5 years, you've got a database that size, and that's just 2 a day. Can you beat 2 a day? And that's starting from 0 and only doing 2. The issue is that's fine. The problem is you don't do 2. You do 2 one day, 3 one day, skip 14. Do 1, do 2, skip 10. Like that's the problem with it. It is not 2 a day. That's not the problem. The problem is all the time that you don't do it. Just like the working out, the workouts you do aren't what makes you fit. It's the workouts you don't skip that make you fit. Get real clear on that one. When I'm training for triathlon, so I've got a full Ironman in Santa Rosa coming up in a few weeks. And in Santa Rosa, it's not the training that will make me perform that day, it's the training that I didn't skip. Because what I feel like is I actually enjoy swimming, biking, and running. I enjoy it. So some days I do it because I what? Yeah, who cares about those days? It's the days I don't want to that I do it anyway. Those are the only days you're moving forward. The only ones. Otherwise, you enjoy it. Number 12, listen to Agent Mountain Interview Monthly. We talked about that. Number 13, schedule closings with strategy. We haven't talked about this, and it's a big one. Now, the first time I had 8 or 10 closings at one time, they were all at the end of the month, and the title company was busy. You guys would be attorney. The title company was busy, the mortgage companies were busy, and I couldn't get what I wanted when I wanted it. And I called to schedule a closing, and the closer said, we can only close at 9 a.m. And I said, I don't close at 9 a.m., I close at 1, because the first half of my day is for me. It's what I do that drives everything. And they said, well, we either close them tomorrow morning at 9, or whatever it was, or next day or whatever, or we're not closing them for a week. Well, what do you think we ended up having to do? Close at 9. I'm not going to hose up my client. I'm not going to, like, okay, fine, we're going to do it tomorrow. And I said, never again. This was the 29th of the month. This was the 16th of the month. I would not have this problem. You'd come to my office on the 16th of the month. Oh, by the way, the mortgage company, you ever have docs come out and you got to redraw them at the last possible minute? How hard is that on the 30th of the month? We'll see you on the 4th, bucko. If it's the 9th of the month, I got all day. Underwriter's free, processor's free, everything's open. So I started scheduling my closings with strategy. By the way, are moving companies busy the last week of the month?
Yes.
Title companies, moving companies, you ever have last minute items to be fixed, or just my deals? Contractors, everyone's busy. They're never busy on the 12th or the 19th. And so I just started scheduling my closings for odd days. 14th of the month, 16th of the month. And you know what? It's a 90% rule. 90% of the time it worked just fine. I had better business because of it.
Not Friday, if you can help it.
Sure, and not Friday. Yeah, little things like that, not Friday. Yep, number 14, follow-up call 1 month after closing. This is so brain dead, and most don't do it. Did you know most things that make you successful are brain dead? You go, oh, that's so easy. I know it's easy. I didn't tell you it was mind-blowing, I just said it was going to be successful. Now, the easiest way to have a follow-up call after closing is to put it in your calendar when it closes. I know, I'm a caveman. Simple is better for me. Number 15, sign in yard after buyers close. Talked about that today. Number 16, adopt the cross-sale buyers. Talked about that today. Again, the first touch is different. Everything else is the same 33 touches what you're already using. Don't make this thing complicated. Don't make it complicated. Now, you could also send out your love it or leave it program. So the one thing that I would add is in that initial letter that goes out that says, hey, thanks for buying the Johnson's home. Hope you love it as much as they did. You know, they had 9 great years, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, here's our love it or leave it program. We offer it to all of our clients. And since you bought one of our listings, we actually offer it to the buyers of our listings as well. Now, the love it or leave it program simply says if you buy a home and you don't love it within 15 months, we'll sell it for you for free as long as you buy another house from us. How many of you, if a buyer called you and said, you know, I thought I loved that house on 123 Street and it's just too close to I thought I was okay with it, I'm not. I haven't earned enough equity. Could you sell it for me for free? I mean, I can pay the buyer's agent, I just can't pay your side, but I'll buy another house from you. How many of you would do that deal for somebody?
Yeah.
Of course you would. The only difference is I made it a system and sold it.
Wow.
You see, when you find things that most agents do, perfect. I don't need you to do something people won't do. Like our industry is willing to do everything that we're supposed to do. The challenge is they don't package it and sell it. So package it and sell it. By the way, show it to the listers. I mean, show it to the sellers. You'll take more listings. Say, look, I'm the only agent I know that offers a love it or leave it program, and so when I list your home, any buyer that buys it, I'm going to be able to tell them before they buy it, if they don't love it within 15 months, they can sell it for free with me.
Why 15 months?
Because it was better than 12. You can do 12 if you want. I don't care. I just wanted it to be long enough that it made sense. And by the way, if someone called on month 18, what do you think we would do? Sure, we can do that. Now, we had one who came back on month 24, and we just made him a deal. We said, look, you know what would be fair? Pay us 0.5% on our side, we'll still go sell you another house. By the way, is there some fine print? Yeah, of course. This is a sales piece. You offer it. Now, what you'll find is you'll tick off a few agents. That's okay, they're already not working with you. Number 17, find accountability on the contacts. Make this a game. So I kind of shared with you the joke about how I couldn't use the restroom until I had X number of contacts. Make a game around this. I'll tell you, pain points are nice because you'll avoid things because of the pain. Make it fun, find accountability. Now 18, I want you to go preview 3 homes every day. If you're not in enough already, if you're already showing homes at that level and listing homes at that level, cool, you're already in the inventory. Though my problem is somebody who sells 6 homes a year and that's all they do, how do they know the inventory? You don't know the inventory, come on. You sell 6 homes a year. You can know the inventory without selling it, you just gotta go be in it. So go preview 3 homes. Now, we used to teach this at KW in the 10-5-15-5. Remember that from 36-12-3 and Camp 4-4-3, like now I'm dating myself. Though the truth is we taught it because it worked. So go preview 3 homes. The first time you're out previewing homes and you pull up in the driveway, and as you're walking to the front door to preview it, and somebody pulls up to the flyer box and says, hey, is this still for sale? And you go, yeah, come on in. You will love previewing homes. And here's the note. You've put yourself in the way of good things to happen. Just put yourself in the way of good things to happen more often. Now, number 19, do 2 APIs weekly, even if they're fake. Now, APIs in my world sound like CMAs in yours. API in my world is absorption-based pricing index. So I don't do CMAs. It looks just like a CMA. In fact, it even has the same mathematical equation. It just has a different title on the front. I told you I like to be different. Because every seller knows what a CMA is, right? They just go, hey, can I get a CMA? Well, we don't do CMAs, but I do an API. Can I explain? Sure. Well, see, most agents do a CMA, and I do an absorption-based pricing index, which is a tiny bit different, because we look more about how many weeks of inventory we have. By the way, doesn't that have a bigger impact on pricing than what someone's home sold for 4 months ago? Sure does. So I'm telling the truth, right? I'm not lying to anybody. And the absorption is more important than the pricing. That's how it goes up. Now, oh, by the way, even if they're fake, if you have enough sellers to do them for, then awesome. Though if you have to do them and they're fake, then do fake ones. This is how you become an expert. Now, if you're going to do it, then I think you ought to send them out to your database, and I'll talk about that in a minute. That's cute. Number 20, internet lead gen to create fill-in for passive lead gen. We talked about that already. You need something to tap that flywheel. Now, then what I want you to do is every lead gen transaction that you close, I want you to keep some factor of the business, some factor of the money, and I want you to reinvest that into more. Same thing with your farm. So Terrence, you're looking at farms right now. Every farm sale that you close, figure out some piece of money that you say, I don't touch it, and that goes back into the farm. Before you know it, you're like Kenny Klaus in Phoenix, who has 31,000 doors. But he didn't start with 31,000, he started with like 300. And every closing, a little bit of money went back in, increased it a little bit. Increased it a little bit. By the way, shoot me a message about Fidelity, they can help you with the whole farm. Now, the piece about this is you just reinvest a little bit. Same thing with the internet lead gen. Now, 21, track your core numbers in notes. I kind of talked about this just in your phone, just so you always have them. Don't make this thing more complicated than it needs to be. Weekly and monthly are the big ones. Don't worry about daily, who cares? Weekly and monthly. Last year on this week, I went on 6 listing appointments. Cool, I need 7. You'll eventually double the business. Now, number 22, unsolicited CMAs. So like the APIs. So one of the things that I would have you to do is I would have you to send out unsolicited APIs. Because you're going to do them anyway, right? So you might as well do them on people that have bought homes from you if you have that database. If you don't, then figure out something else. Though most of you have previous buyers and sellers. So do APIs and mail them to them. Say, I was doing some research on the market and I used your home as a test study. Here's about what it's worth in this market. Hope you're having a great day. Easy peasy, you're already doing it. You can email it, you can snail mail it, you can do whatever you want to. The first time someone calls you and goes, are you kidding me? I'm ready to sell then. You'll go, huh. Well, this has more than one good use to it. Number 23, say affirmations. And we teach this and teach this and teach this. And the truth is people don't do it. They don't. And you know, I'll give you a hack on the affirmations. Don't wait till you feel like doing them. It's not going to happen. Once in a while, I feel like going to the gym. It's not very often. You know what I love about the gym? I love leaving. I love being done and leaving. I like not being there, to be quite honest with you. If you wait for a feeling, you might as well just give up on this thing. Now, in the affirmations, one of the things I would push you to do is just start with 2 or 3. Make it simple, make it easy. The other thing is I would say them when I eat. Because I know you're eating. If it's in your calendar, which would be a great idea, what happens when it beeps and it's time to say your affirmations and you're in line at Starbucks? Are you going to stand there and say, I am healthy, wealthy, and wise. I am a lean, mean, lead-generating machine. You're not going to do those things. Come on. I mean, you might actually get business. You're not going to do that. And so what would happen is if you actually said them when you ate, there's just that trigger of, hey, I'm eating, I'm going to say my affirmations. Now, how many of you eat with a loved one sometimes? Yes. I know this is silly, but what if you and your loved one said affirmations at the dinner table? What if your kids grew up with everybody saying an affirmation or two at the dinner table? They would sit in a room someday and hear about affirmations and go, oh yeah, been doing that my whole life. I heard them for the first time and went, oh, that's a great idea. Our affirmation growing up was, they'll never catch us. Number 24, I want you to read a book a month, and I think that's the lowest level you could be at. Leaders are readers. People that produce are leaders. I want you to read a book a month. Now, I've got a hack to this. It's an abbreviated version of what Gary Keller taught me years ago. I asked him, how do you read so many books? And he said, and I kind of shared with you earlier, he said, number one, you don't read every page. He said, number two, I want you to read them this way. So here's how I've adapted it to the process I use today. If you want to take it, please do. I read the first chapter and the last chapter. Then I read the first line or two, or sometimes the first page of every chapter. How fast can you cruise through a book with that? Do you ever get the meat of a book and then you have 200 pages to go? And it just tells you what it just told you 200 different pages. I mean, Outliers. Outliers was an amazing example of that. Like Gladwell made his point in 40 pages and then beat the point to death for 300 with all the stats. And I'm like, dude, I'm a realtor. I'll believe anything. Just give me the 40 pages and I'm good. I don't need the proof. Just, I believe you. I'm a buyer. So, you get the gist of it. Now, what happens when you do it that way? You'll dive deep on a couple of chapters and go, oh, I need this whole chapter. That's okay. Now, the one thing you add to that on the end is you go to YouTube and you plug in that with report. There's not a business book I have found or a self-help book I have found that does not have someone who's read that book, digested it, and in a 5-minute YouTube can't draw it out for you. Dude, you do that, you throw that in, you've got it. And you can cruise through books. You just want the meat anyway. You're not going to remember 400 pages. You're just not. Take that off your back. You're not going to do it. Now, number 25, stand up when prospecting. And you've heard this for years, like you know it. Though here's the thing. I want you to sit like someone who's depressed. I want you to sit like someone who's excited. All right, so the 3 deals that we're about to close that are closing tomorrow are no longer closing. Sit like that person. Your amazing lender, Chad, just fixed the deals and they're all 3 going to close. Now how do you sit? Now, here's the thing. Yay yourself. Here's the thing. When I said sit like you're depressed, I didn't tell anybody to look down or roll your shoulders forward or lean forward, did I? Now, when I said excited, I didn't tell anybody to look up, put your shoulders back and face. You already knew what to do. Here's the note I want you to take. Your body has a physiology to it. It's a state of depression. If you come home, and by the way, when I came home that day, my wife said that to me, I didn't stand up. I sat down on the edge of the bed, just the way that you would imagine. Put my head in my hands and said, is this really going to happen to us? Will this really be our story? Now, by the way, today we have an amazing relationship. We go on vacation together with the kids. I take her, my mom's worthless. I take her mom on vacation with the kids. I told you about my mom. My daddy went out. I take her mom on vacation. I vacation more with her mom than she does. Because it's important to me that our kids have their grandparents. They got cheated on my side. So all they have is her side. Yeah. Her and I took the kids together to Disneyland last year. Like, we're great together. Great together. Better now than before, which is weird. Though the truth is, your body knew where to go when you're depressed. So I say all that to say this. Why, on the most important time of the day, do you adopt a posture of depression to make these calls? Hunched over a computer, hunched over a call list. Change that, man. Change that. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I'm going to get married again. I don't learn. So what happens? You're a married guy. So could you imagine going to a wedding and they're sitting at the altar? Like, could you imagine the groom, like, bring her out. I'm ready. Could you imagine? That'd be ridiculous, man. The groom stands up there and waits for their bride, all that stuff. And those things are important because they matter. Think about how deep those traditions run, thousands of years. Back to when people had camels in their dowry. Now all we have is investment homes. Though that would be a ridiculous wedding, wouldn't it? Just sitting up there, like the bride and groom sitting there exchanging vows, sitting. That's just silliness. Why do we do it when we're lead generating? Number 26, use the 7 steps to 10 listings. And if it takes you 6 months, it takes you 6 months, who cares? If it takes 2 months, great, good for you. If it's a year, who cares? It's irrelevant. Time isn't relevant. Time's a feeling. Number 27, send a custom buyer fish email every day. Now, if you're using Internet Lead Gen or Sync or something like that, this makes it so easy. Now, your systems are sending out reminders of new listings. Now, can you beat a systematic touch? All day. Will you do more than the systematic touch? Never. So your touch will always be better. The systematic touch of, hey Terrence, here's a new listing, here's a new listing, that's better than nothing. And it will beat you on consistency. Though what it can't beat you on is you saying, hey Terrence, I was in a home yesterday, I loved it, my client loved it, but it wasn't the right home for them. I think it could be for you, check this one out. System can't do that for you. You do that, fair? Though you can't do enough of it, so at least do one. In the face of doing not any of them, one's better than none. If you did that every single day to a buyer, you ever lose touch with buyers a little bit? Yeah. Like they kind of get out there and you're like, oh, come on back in. This is how you reel them back in. Now, by the way, if you want to up it, what you do is when you're in a home, you grab your phone and you do a quick video. Hey, John, I was showing this home real quick. I think it would be perfect for you. Check this out. It's not just the right home for my other clients that I have here. They're out in the car. We're about to leave. Check it out. Let me know if you want to see it. 30 seconds, done and out. It is so fantastic. Now, if you do that, walking up to the home with your buyers will buy more homes you show them. Because when you say, hey, I work with more buyers, I mean, it's kind of like we're married, only I can see other people and you can't. That's what it is working with buyers, by the way. And when you tell them that, they'll sign the buyer listing agreement because they'll both laugh and it's just an easy peasy thing. Now, I'm showing homes and I'm going to take a quick video of the home just in case it's not the right home for you. I do have 2 other buyers to show it to. Is that okay? And by the way, when I'm showing them homes, I'll do it for you. They say okay, and by the way, where's your motivation go? They hear you selling it to someone, whoa, don't send that. Just give me a minute here. Okay, no problem. Trust me. Ever shown a home and another agent was there showing it at the same time? Oh. And your buyers are like, yeah, they didn't even like the house. And they're walking through they're like marking their territory. Yeah. Well, the same thing happens with this. Have fun with it, man. And I think that you'll enjoy it. And by the way, are you putting your personality into your business with these things? Yeah. Have fun with that. You are an amazing, high personality individual. Quit hiding behind systems. You ought to have them. But be careful with them, man, because you get so systematic, you need systems to keep track of your systems. That's not fun. You do systems so your personality shows up. Number 28, make offers from your sellers to your buyers. This doesn't matter today, but it will matter as soon as the market shifts. You start getting that feedback. Oh, we love the house, just you know, the kitchen needed to be updated. Great. Here's a 1-page letter of intent offer from the seller to the buyer saying, if you'll pay me X, I'll do the kitchen.
Reverse offer.
Reverse offer. Commercial guys and gals get it because they call it an LOI. What's an LOI worth? Nothing. It's a piece of paper. It's just a conversation starter. That's how we do commercial real estate. So do an LOI from the seller to the buyer. By the way, today, do you have any grinders of sales, tough listings? Yeah. Yep. So in the market, you don't see a lot of reverse offers, but if you've got a tough listing, do a reverse offer. Worst case scenario, you're showing your seller what? I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything. Man, we haven't been able to sell at this price, and we've made 4 offers outbound, and they still won't take it. It's probably time for us to correct the price. They're never going to question, well, you know, if you just sit 19 more open houses. No, man, get rid of that. Now, number 29, send a TMO or something similar, a total market overview telling somebody what's happening in the market. The most important thing to know on here is absorption rate. If we listed no more homes at this price range, how many weeks of inventory does this price range have in our market? That's the number that you need to know. The other numbers matter, absorption's the big one. Number 30, talk to every client using the 2x3 method. Talked about that earlier today. 31, leave work at the same time every day. I've now used 3 of my 51 slides on timing, haven't I? It's that important, man. Let your brain know what's going to happen. By the way, I think your families deserve that. I think they get tired. They may never tell you this. I think they get wore out from never knowing, well, are you leaving at 7 or 9? Do you come home at 4 or never? Like, when can I count on it? When can I count on you? Leave work at the same time. If you got to go back, then go back. Leave work at the same time. I remember, I'm weird. I'm just weird because you haven't noticed. Now, I leave every day within a 20-minute window. And the other day, I walked out to my truck and walked back in. And KK Maya said, what are you doing back in here? I thought you left. And I said, I did because I always leave. I had one more hour of stuff I had to do. Though my habit is to what? I'm walking out to that car. I'm not going to break that habit. I walked out, walked right back in. It took me 2 minutes. It was no big deal. I'm that heinous when it comes to habits. Because you choose your habits and your habits will choose your future. 31? You're still on 30? I'm just teasing. So talk to every client using the 2x3 method. 32, work one evening or a 2-hour block without clients. So how many of you are okay working an evening? I gotta go back to the West. I gotta go west now. The next thing I do, I'm gonna drink sweet tea. It's just like sugar water. Like you're like a hummingbird. Now, work one evening. Now, bless your heart. Bless your heart. Yeah, which works as a compliment or not. Bless your heart. Now, we've had this conversation. Now, here's the deal. You're an entrepreneur. Are you willing to work an evening or a weekend to make your business work? The answer is yes, of course. I just need it to be done on purpose, not on accident. So choose a 2-hour block and you know you're going to get a bunch of work done that time. I used to use airplane time for this. Then Wi-Fi found airplanes. There goes that time. Because now I hop online, I'm up in the air, and all of a sudden emails start, and before you know it, like you're done. Like that, the whole flight. Emailing and texting or whatever. Now, number 33, I want you to use a 411. Just use it. And here's the trick to it. The first 3 to 6 months might be a bad 411, so what? If you'll never do a bad one, I guarantee you'll never have a great one. If you're unwilling to have a bad workout, you'll never find a great one. If you won't make a bad meal, you'll never make a great meal. 34, play contacts games. I think they're that important. Whether it's, I've done weird stuff. So for me, I love coffee. Like I don't want to be on this planet without it. I'm from the Northwest. So we were driving, my fiance and I were driving to Birmingham, and I saw an exit sign that had a couple of businesses on a river. And I said, cool, let's get a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Because I just assumed if there's an exit off the highway, there's going to be a Starbucks. Because where I live, every exit has a Starbucks. Like, if you're on your GPS, you ever pass something on your GPS, you're like, oh, damn, you don't even worry about it. If you're looking for Starbucks in the Northwest and you pass a coffee shop, you just keep driving. Like, seriously, in a minute or two, there's going to be, right, Chad? There's going to be another one. So now we have
Waffle House. It is
yes.
Waffle House,
yeah, you'd never turn around from Waffle House. You just drive to the next exit and go to that one. You would never make a U-turn for a Waffle House. Yeah. So in Oregon, you don't turn around. You just drive to the next coffee shop. There's coffee shops and dispensaries everywhere. Everywhere. You know that business has actually exploded the commercial market. The grow market, crazy. Pieces of land that were worth next to nothing are selling for top dollar today if they can grow on them. Ridiculous. Now, play contacts games. So I've done them where I can't drink coffee, can't have dinner. I did this one with somebody that I coached for a while, and I did it as well. If we didn't hit a certain number, we couldn't have dinner with our kids that night.
Oh gosh.
And you just tell the family, listen, I'm going to have dinner at the same time. I just got to go sit in the other room. And you'll do it once. You won't do that one twice. You'll fix your stuff. There was a woman that I was coaching for a while, and she had a big sheet of paper on the wall, and it had boxes on it, and she was checking off boxes for contacts every day to go to Disneyland with her kids. Every day when she got home, it was like a 4 and 6-year-old, or close, so we'll call it that. The 4 and 6-year-old had like a marker and said, Mom, are we marking off the box? She said there were days that she sat in the car around the corner to make those last 3 contacts because she was not walking in that front door and telling those 2 little faces, Mom didn't do it today. Heck no. Do you get me on that? I tell that story and my body tingles because you're teaching your kids something, and it's amazing what you'll do for others that you won't do for yourself. I don't know why that is. That's a Dr. Phil thing or a Raldo thing. It's not my thing. What I do know is it is a fact, though. I don't need to know why. I just need to know that it is. Number 35, call around opens. I built this for UH. That's easy at UHG because if you're a partner with us, you just put in the address and we call around 200 people for you. Call around opens. Find a way to get a call around for opens. If it's you doing it, then you do it. If it's a junior agent that you're helping, maybe you could use them to do it. Again, that's apprenticeship program. It's non-paid. At least money. It's paid in what though? Experience. I'm going to teach you something that it took me 10 years to learn, and I need you to make some calls to make that happen. Is everyone going to say yes to that deal? No. Will one person say yes?
Yes.
Yep. Yep. And that apprentice, like every apprentice, does what? Moves on someday. Someone the other day goes, Cody, what if they leave me? I said, here's a news flash. They're leaving you. It's a matter of is it now or when they're dead. I mean, working with you is not a life sentence. Imagine being a football coach at a college. They're all leaving. They're all going to be gone. Your clients are leaving you. The first time their husband gets a real estate license, they're never working with you again. Fair? No matter how good of a job you did. Come on, man. Number 36. 5 notes a day, so easy. This is such a lost cause and a lost art with such an impact. 5 handwritten cards a day. Just 5. It's easy to do. You can use systems if you want. You can use send out cards. You can use all the stuff you want. Though I'll tell you, here's the hack, the trick to handwritten cards. Because nobody ever bullies me on handwritten cards, and none of you have ever received one and been like, you waste of time. Why'd you send me this? You jerk. Taking up my box. Why would you do this? You would never do that. You would never say that. Here's the hack though. You have an index card, like a note card. I want you to use a Sharpie marker. And the reason is I used to write notes, and I'd write a line, and I'd go, shoot, I can't send this. Look at all this white space, John. I've got to fill the whole card or I don't feel right sending it. Well, it takes too long to write a whole card. I'm going to write one and be like, I'm done. I had an assistant at the time who I fired eventually. I had an assistant at the time who handed me a Sharpie and said, use this. And I went, eh. And so I grabbed a Sharpie and I went, hey, I was thinking about you. Have a great day, Cody. Took up the whole card and I went, oh, this is good. Use a Sharpie. You'll send out cards with abandon. Just a quick note, man. It doesn't have to be a journal. Number 37. Visit lender and title offices in person. We've gotten so impersonal in our industry that everything is email, text, and DocuSign and all that stuff. Don't forget to go to their offices in person. Your closing companies or attorneys' offices or mortgage companies, go and walk through their hallways and talk with them. What you'll find is they want to buy and sell, and they know people who do, and nobody asks them. 38. Do one uncomfortable thing every day. Just one. Just pick one thing and do it. It could be a small thing or a big thing. It could be talking to somebody you wouldn't normally. It could be knocking on a door you wouldn't normally. It could be doing a call that you wouldn't normally do. It could be helping someone you wouldn't normally. It doesn't matter. Just one little thing. I've had this rule in my life for years that before I go to bed at night, I'm looking for one little thing that I did that was just uncomfortable that day. Just one thing. Just one. And I'm training myself to never get stuck in a rut. Because the difference is we all get in ruts, don't we? Mm-hmm. The difference between a rut and a grave is the depth. That's it. I have a little toy dinosaur in my office. If you ever come visit my office, a little toy dinosaur that someone I coached gave to me years ago. And I said, why did you send me a dinosaur? And they said, well, because you're the kind of guy that reminds themselves to never stay the same or else you'll become extinct. So I have this little toy brontosaurus or whatever it is. I don't even know if that's the word of it. It's like a long neck and a little head. Yeah, it's like a girl I dated once. 39. Role play scripts alone, daily and quickly. I know you're not going to role play for 2 hours. That's a pipe dream. You're not going to do it. Role play every day alone for 3 minutes or 4 minutes. That you can do. You're not going to role play for 2 hours. You're just not. So keep it short. Do it alone. Number 40. Role play scripts with a partner daily. Again, short. What?
Short.
I'm talking like 5 or 10 minutes. This is not a half, you're not going to keep a half-hour block for your whole life. You could do 8 minutes though. You could do 10 minutes. You could do short. You won't keep these long things forever. You just won't, so why start them? Number 41, answer how's the market correctly. Just a little tip. People ask every party you go to, someone says, how's the market? What do you say?
Why do you ask?
Why do you ask? Why do you ask?
Terrible, we need more listings.
Sure, yeah. You just don't assume, oh, it's a great market. You go, oh, why do you ask? Well, we're thinking about selling. Oh, great. Well, what area of town are you in? You see, if you're writing notes, I'd write this down. You're paid in proportion to the questions that you ask. So if you'd like to make a big income, ask big questions. Though the level of your questions will dictate the level of your income. So ask great big questions. And what you'll find is whoever's asking the questions is controlling the conversation. Whoever's talking is dominating. You want to control, not dominate. You are a group of controllers. I know you. I get it. 42, collect earnest money up front. This one's tricky in different parts of the country, though I'll tell you, if you can collect earnest money in your city, there's a way to do it up front. Some of the best agents I know are collecting earnest money before the buyer finds the home.
Why?
Because it ties the buyer into it. By the way, how strong, are you competing on any offers?
Obviously, yeah.
I know you are.
Yeah.
Is your offer any stronger when you say, hey, I've already got the earnest money and it's already been deposited? We've had it for 10 days. This person's very interested. Better than, hey, they'll write the check tomorrow as soon as you accept the offer. You're looking for any edge you can get. Now that's an edge with the listing agent. Do you have an edge with the buyer as well?
Oh yeah.
Yep. By the way, if you ask me, I think it's better customer service. Some of you don't even talk about earnest money until they find the right house. And then you have the earnest money dialogue and they go, the what money? Now, if they're a previous buyer, they know it. If it's their first time, they don't know. Did you know when you were a first time buyer? Neither did I. Number 43, pay yourself a salary. We talked about this, so I won't go into it again. 44, promote clients on social media. If you've got clients who are businesses, especially small businesses, which makes up 70% of all the businesses in America, what do they love?
Free promotions.
Promotion.
Free promotion.
What are you supposed to be an expert at?
Social media.
Promoting and marketing. You see, you tell people you're a marketing genius, and what you should have said was put things in the MLS and hope for the best.
Right.
No, seriously. Let's call it what it is. I mean, our clients aren't in the room, so we can just be honest with each other. What if you truly were a marketing genius? Promote your clients on social media. If nothing else, you're relying on the law of reciprocity. Because they'll feed you back too. The good ones will. The bad ones, who cares? You don't want them anyway. By the way, the more you're talking about other people, the more you actually get the attention. That's an interesting thought. 45. 2 smart opens a week, level 5 and up, or don't do them. I like 2. I like 1 on the weekend. I like 1 during the weekdays. I'm going to do 1 on the weekdays at 3 o'clock next to a school with tons of moms and dads lining up to pick up their kids. No more than 2 or 3 turns from a major road. That way they're right there. They're going to drop off the kids. Oh, open house right over here. By the way, during the holidays, we sit opens like you wouldn't believe all week long next to busy malls. What do you think happens? They're in line to get into malls. They see the open house sign and off they go, especially in a tight market. You've got buyers literally driving around town looking for signs right now. It's so tight. Pray on that. That's perfect. Now, use video online. The reason I say use video online is the algorithms on Facebook, the algorithms on Google, they're searching videos. They're searching words on video more than they are text. We used to talk about text and SEO and creepers and crawlers and all this cool stuff that Chad's been an expert at for years, that is all outdated now. Like we don't even use it anymore. Though today it's all based on video. So the internet loves video. What's the biggest video craze in Facebook right now? Facebook Live. Keep it short. Some people shouldn't have access to it. Keep it simple. I know. I get it. That doesn't mean that it's bad though. What is Facebook telling you about video? It loves video. Internet, you go and search something, you actually have to click image after you click video. Video comes up first. The interwebs love video, so get used to it, get good at it. Number 47, video messages to the fence buyers, people that are on the fence. Quick little video messages, especially if you've been following up with somebody, it's hard to say no to your face. Shoot a quick video, email them that. People that register on your internet lead generation site, shoot them a quick video. Hey, I wanted to let you know I'm a real life person, love to help you here in Atlanta, blah, blah, blah. Let me know when you're ready. I want to match my behavior to your motivation. I'll find you a great house. All the same things you'd say in writing that they're not going to read, though with your face, they'll look at it. Send it to them on Facebook, by the way. Yes. Be a creeper. Be a stalker. I know, be a stalker, that's okay. They're already not working with you. It can't get worse than that.
I guess you're right.
Number 40.
Oh, wow.
Number 48. Be kinder to agents. I can't tell you in the market that you're in how important those relationships are, and I think it's overlooked and underused.
Yep.
Be kind to people, and be kind to these agents. You know, these agents that right now have multiple offers on homes that are being rude or short or no, we already got one, see ya. There's gonna come a day that you're gonna hope they show your listing and you're gonna beg them for an offer. Those days always come back. Just be kinder to people, man. Especially the agents, just be kinder. When you see one that makes a mistake, help them. I was a young agent who didn't know what I was doing, and I wrote an offer so poorly that a mega agent at that time pulled me aside and said, Cody, before I show this to my seller, you need to change this and this because it's gonna hurt your buyer. You know how cool that was?
Yeah.
And you know how many wouldn't do that?
Yes.
I got lucky. Her name is Mary Cox. She was a 25-year veteran at that time, and she was just awesome. And a battle axe to work with. She was tough, man, tough. But you know what? She held me accountable. She saved my buyers. You know, almost 20 years later, I've never forgotten that story with her. Be kinder to people. You might be able to, you know, eke out a refrigerator for your client that won't remember you in 10 years anyway. I think if you could choose, don't hose your client. You're read between the lines here. If you could help that agent, help the agent. You won't go wrong doing the right thing. Number 49 is I want you to work out every day. If it's 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes. There's times I'll walk into a gym or I'll hop on a treadmill for 5 minutes. Because 5 minutes is better than no minutes. It's better than nothing. So something every day. It could be a walk, it could be something. It could be 10 push-ups, something. You know, sometimes when I'm traveling and I don't have any other time and it's just, you know, airports and hotels, by the way, there's always time. If you're interested, there's always time. If you're not interested, there's always an excuse. I'm real clear on that. Though sometimes I hop out of bed and I'll just do 50 air squats real quick. It's not much, and it's better than not doing anything. You stack that up for years on end, now you have something that's actually worthwhile. For a day, who cares? Years? Can't beat years. Won't beat me on time. Number 50 is I want you to eat right. What you're putting into your body is coming out in every way possible. You ever feel bad? What happens when you feel bad? You perform bad, right? Now again, triathlons was a big deal to me for learning this, which was, you know, when you look at food, you go, do I want to carry that 70 miles? Well, I'd like to not carry that 70 miles. Great, let's not put it in here then. By the way, this is the only home that you have. Be careful of that one. When you think about it, what you have is you have these balls that you juggle in your life. And these balls have names on them. You ever seen a juggler like doing this, right? The names are family, health, spirituality, fitness, business, personal relationships. And yours have different names, though most of us have 5 or 6 or 8 of them. The challenge is they're not all made of rubber. Some are made of glass. You drop the one that's called family, spirituality, some of those don't just bounce right back up. At best, they get marked up. At best, they get dinged. Sometimes you drop it far enough, long enough, it actually just breaks. Business is usually rubber. You drop that one, you have to bend down to pick it up, it'll be there. There's a few you can't drop. Health is one of them. There's just too many easy hacks. Number 51 is I want you to drink a gallon of water every day. If you trust me and you go drink a gallon of water for the next month, 2 things will happen. One, you'll pee a lot. You'll eat less food. You'll put less stuff into your body. You'll lose a few pounds. You'll feel amazing about that. And you'll still pee a lot. Though you'll be shocked. I mean, water is the elixir of our bodies. And there's sometimes, I mean, there's some people who, like, they got to think and go, how much water do I drink right now? Well, maybe a glass a day. Maybe. I drink fluids all day. Liquids. The water, I don't know, man. A gallon? Are you kidding me? Now, when you're out a gallon, you go to 2 gallons. If I'm getting ready for like a photo shoot or a physique competition, it's 2.5 to 3 gallons of water a day. Because your body needs to flush everything out. It's wicked. And you will not pass a bathroom. You'll use every one that you see. You just will. Though, if you trust me, you did this for a month, you wouldn't say, oh, that was a bad idea. You'd go, wow, that was an awesome idea. Now, you got to measure it though. So whether it's, glasses per day, I mean, you know what the meatheads do, like the bodybuilders? What do they carry with them? Milk jug. They got a milk jug of water. They're not smart. Just a milk jug of water. And like when it's empty, I'm done drinking water. You know how simple that is for them? We call it bro science.
Wow.
Like they can't do math, but if you're going by 45-pound plates, they got that down. Oh, that 45-pound plates are 9 plates. Like, yeah, they don't have a GED, but they can do that math like this. Same. I mean, I get it. I'm in that industry. I get it. Drink a gallon of water a day. By the way, a gallon of coffee does not count. While it's made up of water, it does not count. So many days I'll go through a gallon of coffee too. Like I drink a ton of coffee and a gallon or 2 of water. Now, these are all the cities we work in. If you'd like to download this presentation, it's the 51list.wordpress.com. I trust you got something from it. The idea is that it's just 51 fast things. It's 51 things. And this came from laying on my couch. I've been working on it for months. And I finally just laid on the couch one night and said, I'm going to finish the 51 list. I'm not getting off this couch until the 51 list is done. Because it kept showing up on my list of things to do for months.
Why 51?
And, pardon me?
Why 51?
Because 51 sounded cooler than 50. It could have been 61. I just didn't have any more time.
Area 51.
Oh yeah, area. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so it's my homage to my fiance who's from New Mexico, which only has, UFOs and meth, and Area 51.
That's in Vegas.
That's Vegas. Yeah, that's real close though. Same idea. So, what'd you guys get from the 51 list? Any ideas, feedback, ahas? What'd you hear? What's the one that you would take and do? You can't go do 51. So what's the one you would take and go do?
I love the API.
API? I like that too.
I like the idea of an intern doing that for you.
Yeah, let them learn. Let them learn. Like, I mean, hospitals do this all the time. Surgeons and doctors do this all the time. Attorneys do it all the time. Why don't real estate agents? The only reason is because we don't respect ourselves at that level. If we did, we would.
The orphan buyers. The orphan
Orphans? Yeah, I love orphans. Yeah, orphans are great. What was the other one? Reverse offers. Oh man, you want to show a seller your work and make a reverse offer. Make a reverse offer. Because they'll come to you about a price correction and go, well, we've made 3 of these and nobody will bite. I guess it's time to reduce it. They'll come to you. What else? Yes, sir.
Do one uncomfortable thing each day.
One uncomfortable thing. Good. Good. Just something uncomfortable. Something uncomfortable. Yep. And you'll live. You'll be fine. I had an uncomfortable thing happen in the bathroom once. I was fine. I still went back. Who else? Yes.
Here's what's next when you end a call, and stand up when you prospect.
Good. Both fantastic. Both great models. What else? Anything else?
Love it or leave it.
Love it or leave it. That's such a good program. Oh, love that program. If you ask one of our expansion partners, they'll give you a copy of it. We share everything. We don't hide things. Just all we ask is make it look different than ours. Same thing, make it look different. Yes.
Can you explain the reverse offer again? You're saying the seller makes an offer to a buyer that's visited?
Yes. So they said, oh, we love the house except for the kitchen. Great. Well, if you'll pay us X amount, we'll change out the kitchen. So check with your team leader. They'll help you more on that. But that's the gist of it. We have time for 1 or 2 more, and that's it. Yes, ma'am?
I love the, hey, how's the market doing? Why do you ask?
Oh, why do you ask?
I hate trying to answer that question because it's like, no, I don't know what you are waiting to hear. So
Good. I
why
love
do
it.
you ask?
I love it. Yeah. The bozo goes, it's great. Good. What else?
Contacts game.
Contacts game. Yep, make a game out of it. So that's probably the most number of words I could say in a whatever it's been 6-hour time frame. So I hope you've taken some value from today. It's been my pleasure to be here. So would you guys give John a round of applause for doing it? So Terrence, are we good on time? Yes. Right on. All right, guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Computer Scott, if you're the most productive UHG Southeast, thanks very much. Yeah, 16 minute realtor and transferred by reciprocity here to jump through the hoops to actually get it done. Got it done Friday. So I'm just on board. Give me
We're gonna get a quick picture. Maybe.
It's too far.
I really appreciate it. I appreciate it. I've been like since 2001.
This was amazing.
I don't know do anything other than just So I love it. I've got a camera. So yes, we're driven. Getting the architecture. As far as my cost.
It's nice to meet you here.
Zero
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I remember that too.
And Mike and his wife Jamie was coloring.
Oh, good. I mean, I know, sorry about that. The bigger we get, the more problem that's going to be. Like, there's going to be, we just can't have two coaches. Draw the line there.
It's the first one I've ever ran into anyone with so many people with my name. And it is my name.
I get all kinds of emails that are directed to John.
Oh, that's funny.
As soon as John won that role, they're like, listen, you're going to see some stuff that you shouldn't see on TV or forward.
Well, thank you. Have a safe trip back.
I just wanted to officially meet you. I'm Kelly Yoakum. Yes, I'm excited. This has been such a good, I feel like every day is moving.
Good.
So thank you for bringing it to the South.
Because organically it'll feel that way for a while. When it stops to feel like well, even then it begins to slow down. So when you feel like slowing down fast level, because it's not even broken. It's just that
Later, girl.
I'm a very
you feel when it stops happening organically. It'll happen organically.
I honestly, I have mornings of my
You're the man.
There's awesome. Can I have a quick here?
Kelly,
I'm terrible at selfies, but
I guess the longest. Had a little bit of a head start, but
there we go. Yes.
yes.
Thanks for coming down. It's fantastic. We've been hearing you every Friday. It's like, now we see your face. I'll take care. We gotta get to Birmingham.
Drive safe, okay?
Hi, nice to meet you. Absolutely. This is great.
It's overwhelmingly good.
Yeah.
A little rain now. Not used to 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, I know. It's a long day. Thank you for driving.
Quick question though. Do we have any UHG people who are in Chattanooga?
Not at this point. Not that I know.
But I have good connections that you need a referral. I have a couple of great connections. In fact, in Chattanooga, you know who we do have is Zach Onusik, who used to be in our physical. And Zach has sent us a number of to be a great agent. He's in Chattanooga. So if you email me or use our portal, you'll get to meet me. I'll connect you with. You'll love Zach. That's awesome. We call him Big Z or Easy Z. Just like big, nice guy. Such a good guy. Been a good pastor for years. Still good.
On this portal, there's a referral form you can fill out. So
trust me, that is easy.
And it goes to
We gotta go.
yeah, I'm about ready. That's
Thank
about
you
it.
very much. I really enjoyed it. And your stories that you're sharing, I'm like, so yeah. Because it's not legal in South Carolina.
We're just
yesterday.
Finally put a name to face.
Oh, yeah.
He took a picture. Not much I can do about it. Just got to heal. So.
1, 2, 3. That was great though.
Thank you.
How are you?
6 weeks, 7 weeks, man.
I'm in charge of
Told my kids playing basketball.
Oh, good. I think I have this account.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just checked. It's about 57 minutes, so it's about an hour.
3 weeks in this cast, we got 3 weeks in another cast, and 3 weeks after that. Good meeting, Terrence. Take care.
And I'm also starting to use like
Give out the basketball to softball stuff. Yeah, I've had numerous buddies of mine actually do the same thing. I'm like, whatever. Yeah, popped a pretty good. Yeah. Me also, you're too damn active to be in this thing. And just sold one property, and one next week I have an investment contract on the next one. So it's gonna get tricky. Tricky. Okay, good. Yeah, so last night I chatted a little bit. So it's nice. So I bumped into him in the hall and see how he was doing, so it's good to hear. Keep it up. Take care. Let's continue.
The other stuff I've got for if the three of us. Yeah, just because I know she's using it. Yeah, go with her, run with it. If there's any questions, then say to me. If there's something I need to chase you on, I'll already talked. And I'll be here on Wednesday because I'm leading your team meeting. So come to your team meeting on Wednesday. 11:30 to 1. Awesome. I'm going to attempt to be here on Wednesday as well.
I got your message and I wanted to let you know, no, she doesn't need to bring.
Did you get the email back from Chelsea?
I thought she was. She doesn't bring lunch and they serve breakfast as well. And I signed her up for all 10 weeks, so she is good to go there. And they already got all of her paperwork, so there wasn't anything like that to follow the immunization records and everything. It shouldn't, other than take her there and pick her up, whatever. She should be good. I think I even put like Miss Catherine, our name, first case name on the pickup and drop off list. So if there was anyone else, like I didn't add Jess to the list because I'm sure she was doing that over the summer. So if so, you would just need to do that.
Can you do 1:30 Wednesday the 31st? Wednesday the 31st? Yeah.
Good. Well, they did tell me that lunch wouldn't be next. That's what the woman was saying to them. She said they come because they serve lunch. But then yes, I think because yes, absolutely. And I saw that you signed her up for Friday.
Still not going
So funny, yeah. When I dropped her or picked her up after the last week, so after the lady was like, I just want to let you know.
You see what I did?
I was like, I got you.
I said it was there.
Oh yeah, the daily numbers. Yes, you weren't the only one. I was gonna say you weren't the only one. I was gonna throw her to the bus.
I was gonna say, so
I will change the link in my email on Thursday to the weekly link, not just to the page.
I just saw numbers and said, please.
So 30 minutes, so like, I know, cross my little one, I was like, are you done this? No, you're all here. And it's always, so, oh yeah, so actually.
I wasn't proud of it, but I was in there, no.
You did it anyway though. You did it anyway. Good for you. Glad you're here. Not talking. No talking. You'll see me on Wednesday. No talking. Super smart.
do they have a
Don't
pool
talk.
there or
Okay,
something?
go right. You don't
Because
talk
it's
right. Still talking.
Pool at the rec center.
Save your voice. I'll be here Wednesday.
She told me
So
that
for all of you.
take a test here, and I'm
Let me know.
Yeah.
There you go. Let me know. Good sir. Thank you for waiting. Jason, nice to meet you. Thank you. You go to the same barber.
Right, we went to the pool this weekend.
Well, welcome to the world.
Danny and Rachel.
God bless you.
And
We're
she
having a
was
real
jumping off the
estate
diving board, so I can't. Matter of fact, not only did she jump off the diving board, this is the liver side of the board. So she jumped off the board and then swam all the way to the other end. So I think that it's huge.
Plug in Sunshine Park lot.
I think she'll be good there.
Walk across the street to the back.
Yeah, it is nice.
Yes, they didn't say anything like, they said the filter.
like already included in the cost.
Most people get five.
And I signed like for permission, so I don't know if there's gonna be any additional payments coming down the pipe. The only thing,
I went to the preseason.
okay, and ask him about the t-shirt thing too, because it's just like the last week, signed up for the last week, so,
I'll tell you what, that stadium.
Battery parks, apartments, and all that stuff that they kind of tie together.
I didn't, maybe they'll give, if they give me that on Friday, just let me know, and then I will just let you know. I'm not gonna get, and then yes, I'm gonna go to the award ceremony on Wednesday. I was gonna be there anyway, because I'm on the, as I mentioned before, I'm on the, see, this Wednesday, is the 24th. Is tomorrow, the award ceremony is the 23rd? Okay, I have
You came to the right place.
Alright.
Step one is to talk to John Fountain.
I did.
No one talks to me until they got out. Step two is you take that, and I'm gonna challenge you.
Dude, I mean, it's cool. I mean,
Say, hey, I was a guy with the same hairstyle as you, whatever, so I'll remember. And then I'll send you some information. I'll be back here Wednesday, I'm doing your team meeting on Wednesday. And then maybe, it's okay. That's okay. Maybe between then, whether it's tomorrow, you and I find some time, Wednesday on the phone, later in the week on the phone, you and I will find some time, whether it's face to face.
Okay, I'll be there, I'm gonna go there for that. I was gonna say, are you going to like the luau thing on Wednesday?
Simple and easy as that. Just email me.
It's like a lunchtime, I think it's like from like
Thank
maybe
you. Nice
11
to
to
meet you.
1, or 11:45 to 1. Okay, that's cool, I plan to be there. And so yeah, I was gonna say, so I am on the PTA, so I'm off it at this point. Yes, and hopefully if you think of events or, ideas that I can get the dads more involved, that would be great, because, being on the PTA, one of my things, like going to the first meeting, I was like, man, we need something up in here. Like,
Was this your
PTA
clicker,
should not be
or
all
were you
women.
using their clicker?
Did they really? Oh, that's awesome. Okay, alright, well. Okay, well that's, and I like the idea of a guy's night, or did you say a dad's night? Like, I like the idea of a dad's night. I just gotta figure out what that needs to look like. Like, I don't know what that would look like. Yeah.
And then,
But if it's like, oh man, yeah.
have both
So if you think of anything,
I saw
please
Fiona's
send me your
reply.
ideas.
Celia just got some
Great.
reply that I'm part
Get
of
some more
some
dads involved.
group
Because I hate
thingy,
people thinking of PTA
whatever
is like a
email
woman's thing.
system she uses or something.
Cool. And I think
Yeah,
that's
very
all
good. So
I,
thanks
oh,
for
I was
the
gonna say,
email
so
about
for the
this, just so
summer,
you know
are you
you're
planning
not
to
part of
take
my
any trips where you
CDO
would wanna
system or
take
something.
the week?
Basically, what I think I got out of Fiona is she thinks there'll be 30 to 40 people.
Usually have a little more than that, but yeah, there's, I'd say closer to like 50, 60.
And how much time will I actually have?
1 hour.
Okay.
So they get in here, usually John introduces our vendors, the affiliates, he has a breakdown of exactly, I'll print off
It doesn't matter to me. I was
what
gonna
John
say if you
sent,
wanted
I
to
think,
take a week 'cause there was
possibly in
something
another
scheduled,
email. But he announces the affiliates, the guests that provided lunch that day, cheers for peers, I mean, that, all that good feeling
Fiona
stuff.
can
Yeah, and
do
a
all
lot
that.
of times now I've been coming up here with John and then going over what the training is.
Good.
So
So you and
either one,
Fiona
yeah,
do
we'll get that, we'll knock it out for you.
Perfect.
And then.
So basically, when you turn it over to me, I've got an hour.
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be great. And do you have a topic? I know Fiona mentioned listings.
Okay, that's awesome.
Listings. But if you have something that I could promote.
I'll put that.
Communication.
Communication.
Just use that as
Yes, you did.
because that gives me vague
The fish wants to be near the water.
enough. Some of the games we're gonna
This
play.
sounds good. It sounds like you're about to work out, so I'm gonna just let you go.
And then I can teach them
Thank you,
about
Mr. Nathan. Bye.
certain communication tips with their listings and things like that.
Okay.
So let's just call it communications and leave it at that.
That'd be a good one, especially nowadays. Where everything is so virtual.
Yes. We'll play some fun games that they'll either hate or love.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to move around the room.
Okay.
We're gonna. And
Are
then
you
we'll
gonna
learn, we'll learn things in between there.
Okay, that sounds good. Are you still, well, first off, how's everything going? Congratulations. I haven't really been able to tell you that since switching over to Cody Gibson's team. That's awesome.
Thank you.
How's it been going so far?
So far, so good. We're 38 or 39 people across the southeast region.
Okay.
We're the largest region already. I passed everybody else, and
There you go, and you've been there for what, not even a month?
6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Maybe.
Why did I think? Oh yeah, I guess
April 1st
April
was
1st,
my
that's
official
right.
first day.
I remember seeing that post.
Yep, it's been fun. It's allowed me to go back to some of the other things I want to do a little bit more that the region didn't want me doing. And allows me some fun and some opportunities, and back to working with the agents. So
Awesome. Are you gonna train on the one thing or other
as
classes?
often as I can.
Awesome.
6 personal perspectives. I'm traveling around the region teaching ESO Light. I just got certified to teach, so if you guys want that on the calendar, I'll be starting to teach that anytime now as well.
Okay.
And then the one thing, of course, the one thing workshop's the one I have to charge for.
Okay.
The others, nope. It's just if you want the 6 personal perspectives, if you want the business planning clinic, if you want, which that one you'll have to provide the workbook, and if you want,
What is the fee again for the one thing?
one thing is basically it's $200 a head.
Okay.
30 people minimum.
Okay.